In 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. 'Tis I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my pragmatic chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Hello, DJ.
Hello, Cap.
What's up,
How you
man?
doing? What is up? Nothing much, man. Just hanging out with you and the crew.
I'm so excited to be back. DJ and I were talking right before the show that doing fewer shows lately because of my insane schedule, it feels like we haven't seen each other in like a month or two every time we get together. It's like, oh, it's Thursday. It feels like so much time has passed. It's good to see you, buddy.
It's good to see you. Agreed.
Well, I'm glad we're in agreement. That was a fun show. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next time.
Joining us. See you next time.
Tonight, we are back to formula, as it says in the title. We're not going to have, tonight, any kind of lead-in topic at all. Of course, sometimes we will bring those back, but we're not going to be doing reviews in the middle of the show anymore, because it was kind of just bogging things down and taking over the show too much, and I decided that this show was better served as what it always used to be, which is just news and discussion and Q&A, and basically an hour or two of multi-topic extravaganza. It's funny, DJ, every time I go on a hiatus, I come back and I kind of like reinvent the wheel, and I did that again this time, and it's very quickly just turning right back into what it was before. Like, all the changes I attempted to make, none of them are sticking. Like practically none of them are sticking. With the exception of unscripted rewinds. I'm still going to be doing that, but like, I plan to only focus on superhero and comic stuff. That's not working out. I'm too intrigued by some of the requests I'm getting and wanting to continue to kind of broaden my horizons and try different things with that. And Austin has graciously offered to help me review those. So we're doing a new weekly request show, if you haven't seen that yet, on all kinds of random eclectic kinds of things that aren't just superhero and comic related. And then I wasn't going to do singular, off the cuff reviews for new movies anymore either. And I don't know how often I'm going to be able to get those out, to be perfectly honest with you, with the schedule I have right now with my twins, but I'm going to do them when I can with Connor and free this show up back for what it used to be. So that is the plan. And sorry for wasting everybody's time with all those announcements from a couple of months ago, many of which just have already reverted back to what they were before. But I think that kind of tells you, DJ, that we had a pretty good system and a good thing going right before that. It's just schedule-wise, it's really difficult to hang on to everything and do everything the way I was doing it. So I'm gonna do my level best.
Yeah, totally understandable, man. We're gonna figure out what's going on moving forward. It's a rough time. You got a lot to adapt to. Got your hands full.
My life is nuts. It's crazy to even attempt to keep doing this. DJ, I had kicked around taking a whole year sabbatical at one point, and I'm such a workaholic. I don't know if I'm even capable of that. Like, I needed some kind of an outlet so that my whole life wasn't just taking care of babies. And don't get me wrong, like, it's worthwhile, and obviously it's going to be worth it in the long run, but like, boy, two at once is just a lot, and you get to the end of your day and you kind of want something else to do if you can even fit anything else in. But yeah, right now with that, it's kind of nuts because I've had help during the day for at least a few hours most days, and I'm about to start losing some of that help, so I'm going to have to be doing more of this by myself, DJ, which is going to probably make it even harder to do channel stuff, but we're going to see how it goes. The girls are getting a little bit easier, but that's just relatively. There's still two babies that are like just out of being newborns.
Yeah. That's rough.
But anyway, so tonight, whatever you guys want to talk about, start leaving questions and super chats if you're so inclined. If you want to make sure that your question, comment, topic of discussion comes up tonight, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and that will make absolutely certain that it is talked about. But if you want to just leave a regular pre-written question, you can do that as well. Make sure and address those at DJ Martinez, because he's the guy that's going to be reading them very dramatically and theatrically. He's gonna make your voice sound so much more beautiful than it would be just coming from your mouth. I'm absolutely positive of it. And if you
didn't realize my job description was changing this evening.
I'm just kidding. And no, I'm just saying naturally is you don't have to try. That's just how it always comes out.
Oh, it was a compliment. Okay, I didn't get that.
Whatever you guys want to chat about, if there's any recent news, trailers, I've seen a few things. I don't know that I've seen anything like everything, but I will try to weigh in on anything and everything you guys want to talk about, and we're going to go ahead and just get right into it. DJ, we're going to play this like The Price is Right and jump straight into the first item up for bids. So what is the first question for this evening?
All right. The first super chat I got this evening was from TH1. He says, how was jury duty? Did you sentence the guy to death?
I didn't end up having to do it. I filled in for deferment and because of the newborns, and I got it, and I didn't end up having to go in. So anticlimactic ending to that story, but I probably will have to do that sometime next year. But it didn't end up having to happen right now, which thank goodness, because I don't know how with my schedule I would have made that work. But
wow, exciting tale, sir.
And even if I had sentenced the guy to death, I couldn't tell you about it. Also, that would be swifter justice than I feel like we have in this country.
Oh, don't get him on a rant, guys.
That would have gone. That just sounds really fast. Like if I had been on a either really swift justice or it was just so clear that guy did it. That like we sat in a room for 30 minutes just to make it seem like we actually discussed it at all, and then we just went, okay, so let's just put in the guilty verdict and go to lunch, guys.
Who's for Chinese?
Who's for Chinese? Exactly.
The next super chat is from.
That would not have been I'm gonna say grumpy old men. That would not have been a 12 Angry Men situation. I'll tell you that right now.
No, in agreement from the beginning. Next up from Why Does It Have to Be Chickens?
Why does it have to be chickens? Your name is a question. I feel like I have to answer the handle before we even get into the question.
Well, you can't answer the handle. You tried to answer that when you reviewed Venom 2, and you can't answer it.
Oh, that's what he's talking about. Why does it have to be chickens? It doesn't. There's so many other animals that you could get their brains, and then their bigger brains, and they would have more of the substance.
Only chickens have heads. Those are the only animals that have heads.
Why? Why? Now I want to know who that is, because that's definitely probably a regular commenter. And
they changed their name.
I want to know who that is.
Let us know. But he wants to know, what's your favorite preparation of chicken?
Oh, I like. I mean, a lot of different kinds of dishes with chicken, and chicken is about the only meat that I'm eating right now, besides occasionally fish. So I'm eating it a bazillion different ways now, because I don't eat hamburgers or pizza or anything anymore with pork or hamburger or anything. So yeah, mine of choice is probably just on a sandwich, just a like grilled chicken sandwich. But I also like stir fries a lot. What is your favorite way to prepare a chicken, DJ?
Oh, good question. I eat it anyway. I can't think of a way that I would not eat chicken.
Yeah, I had that too.
Chicken is awesome. I usually just grill it, or bake it, but I mean, what you got? Chicken marsala. You could put it in a pie. You could do anything with chicken. Chicken pot pie. Not healthy, but it's awesome. It's just swimming in gravy and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I was not expecting to be stumped by food prep questions.
Yeah, that's something of a softball question, DJ. Like,
Hey, this is not
I
the
feel like he
question
might
I
be
answered.
preoccupied by something this evening. Like he just can't. He's not getting his head in the Q&A game yet. He's like,
I'm still in the writing down questions game. I got to catch up.
Oh, okay. I threw him. He's only had like 4 or 5 shows back. He's still getting used to that again.
But let's see, what do we got? Oh, from Beep Bop Boop. How's Eric? I really miss his YouTube videos.
Yeah, Eric is fine. I have not been seeing him very often lately because I just haven't had time to hang out with a lot of people in general. And like I said, my time is so limited that during the week I really can't meet anybody for videos, and that's mostly what Eric and I were doing when we were getting together. That and he's been having to work really late lately at his job. So yeah, he's fine as far as I know. He's just working all the time, so it's hard to see him. I hear from him some, but we just message back and forth. But anyway, yeah, I get messages a lot about his YouTube channel and how people wish he would come back to it, and it's just not a priority for him, guys. That was the way he's always put it is that's a thing that he did years ago when he didn't really have an outlet to talk about geeky stuff with anybody. He just didn't have a lot of friends that were into the same things that he was into, and he had a lot of thoughts and he wanted to express them, and that's why he did a YouTube channel. And so it was a hobby for him, never a thing intended as a career, and in some ways even like almost less of a hobby and more of just like a social outlet. And he just happened to be great at it, and I don't think that he expected to build anything like a following. And so there ended up being more demand than he was willing to fulfill eventually. And then when he came here and lived with me for a while, he didn't have a lot to do. He didn't have a girlfriend. He was he had a full-time job, but he didn't have much else going on and in his pipeline, so he had a lot of time to fill, and that was the thing we always did for fun. So that became a lot more of a hobby for him, working with me doing the channel thing. But again, never really a career plan. And so once he was working a lot more and had a serious girlfriend and had more of his own life for lack of a better way of putting it, there just wasn't a lot of incentive for him to continue doing this. And so he still likes to come on occasionally when we've got time, and we had a standing regular evening weekly that we were getting together and shooting comic reviews, and hopefully that will come back eventually. But yeah, I know it's disappointing for folks because, again, he's great at it, but he was never going to be like the YouTube entrepreneur guy. It's somewhat ironic because he and I are both writers, and writing is what he really wants to do. And he's, I think, been working a lot more on stuff lately. I don't want to speak for him, but like he's trying to focus more on that. And I started as a writer, and of course, certainly, I still consider myself more that than anything. But this whole thing kind of took over for me, and I ran with it and let that kind of take over my life. And so I still write when I can, but if I had stuck to my guns like he did, I wouldn't be here either. So that's kind of the irony of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's so funny that he's so good at it that everyone thinks he's like putting all this effort into it, but he really he doesn't. He's not trying to make it his career. He's just a natural.
No, he would he would hit a record button and talk for 10 or 20 minutes and turn it off. The man never once edited anything he recorded. He's also not once ever listened to anything he recorded. I don't know if anybody knows that. Eric doesn't listen to himself. He doesn't know what he sounds like. Like he doesn't like playing back. He doesn't know his own rhythm or anything. Like he's just that good. He's just a natural at it.
That's cool. Yeah, he never had to work at it and get better and stuff like most YouTubers do.
And like everybody, I mean, I would argue that he probably did technically get better at it as he went along. Certainly he got more detailed in his analysis and that sort of thing, but he always had much more of kind of a radio voice than I did. And when I say voice, I don't mean like the timbre of it, because I probably have technically more of that, but he was just better at brevity than me, and he didn't stutter as much as I do and that sort of thing.
Yeah, really envious of him for that. That's awesome.
Hi, Connor.
I like the typo in that super chat. I'm gonna read that later. Ben Script Super. Hey Cap.
Hi,
Happy the
another name
normal
I don't
show is
recognize.
back.
I'm getting really skeptical of these names I don't recognize because I'm thinking a lot of them are probably people I know that have changed their names. Like Anime 2019, 2020, that person changed their name to see, we were getting made fun of earlier in social media for not pronouncing this right. There's an anime that person likes called Code Geass or Geass or whatever it is. Because I didn't even know that was an anime. Like, you kept reading it, and I was like, and we kind of got made fun of it. And I was like, but we didn't even know it was an anime. We didn't even know it was a thing. Like, I didn't know what that meant. And anyway, but I discovered that's, a longtime viewer, Anime 2019, just changed their name.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Ben Script Super, if you're a longtime fan, let us know. But he says, well, he has to be because he says, happy the normal show is back.
Yeah.
Loved your Silence review.
Thanks.
Oh, you reviewed Silence? I want to see that. It's a crime that I haven't seen that yet.
And
then he says,
it's just excellent.
Yeah. Quick question. How do you kill a man without fear?
Well, I'll let DJ take this one. Go ahead, DJ.
Well, you put the fear in him.
Exactly.
Why don't I have a costume yet? I've been doing this show for 2 years.
He wants an effing costume. Well, and here's what's going to happen, too. We're going to make a big deal out of it, and then for the rest of the show, you're just going to wear the same thing you were wearing in the first place.
Yeah.
What is that line? How do you not pay that off in any way?
I don't know. I don't know. It's so weird.
That was the big bullseye line in the Daredevil movie, and it was such a big deal they recorded it 2 different ways. So, like, for the PG-13 version, it was I want a bloody costume, and then when they released the special longer version, it became the director's cut. It became I want an effing costume. Like, they thought that much about it, and then he doesn't even change his costume. I don't understand that.
All right, Divid 22.
I quote that line way too much. Like, it comes up.
It comes up more than you would think.
All the time.
Man. Divid 22. DJ, have you thought about a ponytail? You as well, Cap.
Okay, so
you go first. Yeah.
I had a ponytail. Oh, I'm sorry, because you said your name first. I had a ponytail. And then recently a month ago, I got my hair cut. And then it was too short to keep doing it. And now it's just long enough again to start doing it again. But it's like barely. So it still feels kind of weird to put, hair tie in it. And so I'm really on the fence about whether or not I'm going to keep doing that. And I kicked it around tonight. I was actually going to do it. And then I realized that the initial thumbnail, because I ended up putting in a Green Goblin thumbnail, but the initial thumbnail that I shot for this show, my hair was all nuts and crazy. And I just didn't want to disappoint anybody that wanted to see insane mad scientist Cap. So
yeah, he had already hyped you up so much with the Willy Wonka hair that he didn't want you to. You could have done an amazing Gene Wilder this year for Halloween.
Oh man, maybe I'll grow it out even more next year and do it next year. That would be great. It sucks though because this was the anniversary.
Oh yeah, it's so good. But yeah, mine's not necessarily long enough to do a ponytail yet, but I do pull it back into kind of like a short little man bun, whatever you call it, when I'm working out because it drives me absolutely insane.
Yeah,
it just falls in front of your face over and over and over. So yeah, I do pull it back.
In about 2 weeks, I'll have to start doing that again, too. Yeah, it gets nuts. Because I work out on an elliptical, and it's just bouncing up and down. It's terrible. It's just terrible.
Yeah, it's the worst. Especially when you're, like, doing push-ups or handstands or something, and you're constantly going up and down, and it drives you nuts. But I haven't pulled it back just for, like, style yet.
Sorry, what?
I haven't pulled it back just, like, as a look yet. Just, like, go out to the grocery store or something.
I envy you because yours doesn't poof out and get crazy as long as it is. Like, yours is longer than mine right now, and it's not. Okay, so I mean, it does. I guess it's just headphones.
My hair's pretty straight though.
Yeah. So it's easier for you to get away with not doing that.
Yeah, and usually I push it back, or I try to, but the headphones kind of pull it down.
When I started pulling mine back, my wife was like, "Oh, that looks so much better."
I can see your face. All right, what do we got next? What's up? We got plenty of questions. David22, we just answered his. Logan Dodd, Cap.
What? I mean, hi.
How about that Death Note anime?
How about it?
How about it?
So I posted yesterday about Death Note and was really surprised by the response I got. I don't know, one of the posts that's not an actual review that I've seen the most engagement with on YouTube. It's really funny. It's like I might as well have just posted a review because a lot of people commenting. I think just surprised that I was watching that. I put out feelers a while back, several weeks ago, asking for suggestions for animes because I was considering starting to get into that a little bit more, and I got it again. Huge response. Anime seems to be having a new resurgence. It's getting really popular again, and I mean, it's always had its base, but it seems like it's blowing up again all of a sudden just the last few years.
It's actually bringing in. I watch Dan Murrell, if you don't follow him on YouTube, does a very detailed box office video every week, and I love listening to his stuff. And he's documented that anime has been bringing in money at the box office, even in the States, which is big. Like the last few that have been released in the theaters have been doing really well. So it's definitely branching out to new audiences.
It makes you wonder how those Fathom events go when it's not a wide release, and the only way that you can see like a new anime movie or episodes of a TV show or something is to go to the theater. I wonder how those do, and if those are sometimes sold out.
That was something he specifically brought up on this week's show. Was he was like, this is a movie that would have been a Fathom release 3 or 4 years ago, and now it's getting a wide release in the States and doing just fine. So it's interesting. I haven't jumped on the bandwagon yet, but apparently a lot of people are.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I'm wanting to get my feet more wet with that because, like I said, I'm trying to kind of expand my palette a little bit, and I'm finding that a lot of the sensibilities with that always contradicted my own and just what I'm used to in American storytelling and modern conventions here in the West are things that the more Japanese stuff I watch, the more I'm finding that I'm able to tolerate some of that stuff. Just when I got started on YouTube, over a decade ago, there were a lot of things about that stuff that were just difficult for me to appreciate and get into, and a lot of it was rhythm and people just talking like too exaggerated and that kind of thing. And I feel like I'm at a place now where I can kind of appreciate that the sensibilities are different, and I was never able to really separate that out before, and it's getting easier. But another reason that I wanted to start looking more into that is, DJ, I'm finding that too much of the things that I love are Japanese in the first place, and I was just an ignorant, dumb kid when I was growing up, and I didn't realize it.
That's amazing. Well, what specifically? I mean, I know Power Rangers, but what else?
The big broad thing is just Sega as a thing. Like, I'm such a Sega nut. And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, that's obviously, that stuff all starts Japanese in the first place. Like, I'm such a huge, not just Sonic fan, but Knights fan. Knights is, more and more I'm realizing, probably my favorite video game of all time. And a lot of people don't even know what that is, but Knights and Dreams on the Sega Saturn, which I bought about a year after it came out and was really into. While everybody else was playing N64, I was playing Sega Saturn, and then I got my 64 a little bit later. But Knights just looks like an anime character. Like, it honestly should have an anime, and it's kind of strange that it doesn't. And then obviously, like you said, Power Rangers and a lot of other video game things, and I was just like, oh, you know what? I already like some Japanese stuff. It's funny the sheer number of Godzilla fans that I run into that like Godzilla but have never thought to look at anything else Japanese and don't care about Power Rangers, and like those things are so close. It's like, have you not looked at like tokusatsus at all? And so I'm like, well, maybe I should look more into some of this stuff. And also, I've been so disenfranchised with a lot of American television and movies and stuff lately. It's making me want to look at what other foreign markets are doing going, and if the stuff is maybe a little bit less sensational and commercial and more, creative sometimes. Trying to just find the kinds of things that I like in off the beaten path kind of place. So anyway, going now to Death Note. That's a thing that I had heard about years ago, and it sounded like an intriguing premise, but I didn't know anything about it beyond just the basic premise of kid finds a notebook, writes people's names in it, and then he can kill them. I didn't even know just how mystical the thing was. Like, that sounds like a fantasy mystical kind of notion, but I didn't know that it was demons, and that it was kind of a heaven-hell sort of scenario. And so it's kind of pushing my Spawn buttons a little bit, and it's got some of that gothic kind of iconography and moodiness to it, which immediately grabbed me. I was hooked on that first episode, like just right away. First of all, the animation is gorgeous. The English dub is really good. I've talked about this before. I used to only like to watch Japanese things subtitled. Particularly anime, because very often the English dubs would just be kind of silly and like they were trying too hard to sound like what the Japanese actors were doing, but like it didn't translate. And I also always wanted to get things as close to the way they were intended as possible. And I felt like if you're listening to a translation, you can't be totally sure that it's what was intended, but also you're looking at a slightly altered, different product now. And I've always been kind of a stickler for getting things as close to the way that you were supposed to see them as possible, because otherwise I feel like I'm not really, getting the thing. And I might not fully appreciate and understand it. I still have that to some degree, but it was just automatically on dub in the first place, and I was like, I'll see what it sounds like. And then I really liked the American actor, or at least the actor with the English language voice, because I don't actually know if he's American, but that's playing Light, the main character. And I was like, I guess I'll keep listening to it like this. And I think all the casting is really good. But anyway, it's I think what I'm most enjoying about it is that it's kind of, again, for American convention, it's breaking rules in ways that I'm surprised I'm kind of okay with, and would probably bother me in an American thing, but again, I'm adjusting. So, like, it's so talky, and, like, people are explaining and spelling out everything, and it's not bothering me somehow because what's being spelled out is, or I should say, like, all the detective work that's being discussed is really fascinating. It's like every single little morsel of how a person gets from X, Y, from like Y to Z in decisions that they make is just really interesting, and it's really fun to listen to the thought process. So probably like 60% of that show is voiceover. Is just internal monologue from first our main protagonist and then his antagonist, which is kind of fun because the protagonist is kind of technically the bad guy, because you've got a guy who finds this like demon notebook from a Japanese demon called a Shimigami that lets him just, like I said, write down anybody's name and they die. There's all these rules, and it's really consistent with the rules, and they're kind of arbitrary but fun to try to keep track of. So, like, you find out things like you can put somebody's name in the notebook and then 40 seconds later they die. If you don't specify how they die, they just die of a heart attack. But if you specify the way they die, you have like 6.5 minutes, I think, to write out exactly how you want them to do, what exactly happens. And that's kind of fun. And there's all these kind of fun loopholes that Light comes up with ways to use the notebook that nobody's used before. That's really interesting. And he's a high school student, and it very quickly corrupts him, and he thinks that he can like reinvent the world and make a utopia, and he is a total narcissist, like very fast. But anyway, now I'm just reviewing this thing. It's really interesting. I want to do.
People are loving it. People are very excited about it. People want you to review it.
I want to do a full-on review of it down the road. It's like 30-something episodes. and I'm not taking notes or anything. I've just been watching it for fun, so I may want to give it a second watch before I do any kind of discussion on it, or I might try to find somebody else that knows it or wants to watch it and bring somebody else in to do it. I thought about asking Austin if he might want to watch through it. But I don't. But I don't know. I don't know how exactly I would tackle that yet. Somebody was like, "Do an anime rewind," and I was like, "I'm the least qualified person on the planet to do that kind of analysis on a thing like that." But I don't know. The whole thing is about like deductive reasoning and detective work, and between the two like geniuses that are trying to figure each other out, it's a game of wits, and it gets a little convoluted, certainly. But like I said, it's always fun and interesting. Like it's a lot of these guys like trying to be 5 steps ahead of each other, so it's it can get kind of unintentionally funny, DJ, where it's a whole lot of like, I know that you know that I know that you know that I know this thing, and it's like there gets to a point where every episode there's a bunch of that where we'll just cut back and forth between the protagonist and the antagonist, where it's like if I do this thing, he's going to know that that I'm the bad guy with the death note. Oh well, if he does that, then he'll know that I know that he's the guy that has the thing. So I can't do that. Like they'll second guess themselves, and they'll change their whole MO, and it gets hilarious. And by the way, immediately
awesome.
when I heard what must be the most meme-baity line in that show, I was like, I knew it. And I didn't go look it up. And then somebody in YouTube social media, when I posted about this in the community page, quoted this, and I was like, see, I knew it. I knew this must be the line that everybody quotes. So there's an episode, DJ, where Light gets his room bugged, and there's cameras everywhere, and the team that's been investigating all the murders, because he's killing like every bad person that he can get the name and face of on the planet in trying to create a utopia. That's what he's doing, and the only good people that he'll kill are people that are after him and that have a chance of figuring out who he is. And there's a team that's put together that starts to suspect him, and so he's sitting in his room, and he's trying to make it look like he's not writing any names in the notebook, and he sets it up to where he's got what looks like an alibi where he's studying, and he's eating chips, and he goes and he's like he's just all into this and thinks that he's so impressed with himself for coming up with this plan, and he's like, and then the antagonist L, he's like, and L's gonna be watching this, and he's gonna like see the alibi, and he goes, and I'm gonna take this chip, and then I'm gonna eat it, and it's the best.
Yeah, everybody's shouting it out in the chat.
I will remember that till the day. I'm gonna take this chip and eat it.
Yeah, everybody's super pumped. Everyone's loving that you're dipping your toe in. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, I wasn't really prepared to talk about it, and like I said, I'm only like 12 episodes in, and I knew it would come up, but I'm nervous talking about anime because I'm not familiar enough with a lot of this stuff, and I'm like, second guessing what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't know how much of this I want to delve into, and I'm also trying to make this not a review show, so I'm feeling funky about that. But I knew people wanted to talk about it, so I was like, I'll say some things. I don't know how involved I should get right now with that. But
people are tying it in. People are talking about how the dub is actually a Canadian dub, and the actor that plays Light is the actor of Nightcrawler from X-Men Evolution. Somebody mentioned that.
Didn't pick up on that. He's great.
That was Hawk Flame popped in. Hey, good to see Hawk Flame. But yeah, everyone's loving it. So I guess stay tuned for Cap to pop back in for that.
Okay, so Ty is a friend of mine who's a longtime viewer of the channel, and he just sent me a Facebook message and he just quoted that. He just sent me a Facebook message and said, "I'm gonna take this potato chip and eat it." He is the guy. Quick plug. Who? Well, I say plug. Just this isn't like an advertisement for anything in particular, but Ty designed a tattoo that I'm going to be getting in the not too distant future, and he and I are also working on preliminaries for a comic book right now. And stay tuned, because I don't know when that's going to start really getting together, because I haven't had time to write lately. But we have a thing that's in kind of pre-production right now that he's been working on. Have I sent you anything for this, DJ? Have I told you about it?
Oh, this is a tease for me too, guys. I'm with you.
Yeah. So quick tease. So Ty, what is his regular name? You guys would know him because he shows up in the live show sometimes. He's Tyler over something. Yes, that's him. Overall, yeah, that's him. He's a fantastic artist. I really like his stuff, and he's really versatile. And all I'm gonna say is we're working on something that is kind of fan parody that will include some things that you guys are quite familiar with if you've watched the channel for very long. That will in some ways be a culmination of everything I've ever done.
Oh, not to hype it up at all, but
in some ways it will. Yeah, and I don't think that's
magnum opus.
I don't think that's overhyped at all. It won't be a magnum opus, but I just mean that like. My history had to have unfolded in a certain way for me to have ever tried to write this, and that's all I'll say.
Oh, that's enough, man. That's awesome. That's exciting. All right, well.
I will officially announce that probably around Christmas time or at the beginning of next year. And I'll let you guys know what we're working on even before we get it finished, but I need to at least get a script written so that I know for sure it's happening. Because things are so up in the air for me right now.
Cool. Well, I gotta give a quick shout out to Adam March. Adam March just popped in the chat.
Hi.
I gotta give him a big thank you because Adam March is one of the people who watched through. So me, Connor, and Austin did a live commentary on the film House. Speaking of Japanese things, House-Su is this crazy 1970s Japanese movie, and he watched the whole thing with us, and he was there the whole time. It was really cool. So thanks, Adam March. I appreciate you. Thanks for popping in. Logan Dodd.
What a guy.
How much did you not care about the Morbid trailer? Which is what he wrote, and I love it. But he's talking about that Morbius trailer. Did you watch that leaked Morbius trailer?
I did. Was it leaked? Was that not supposed to actually come out?
I don't know if they eventually released it. I know that when Ben brought it up in the Discord, he said it was leaked.
Oh, okay.
They probably did release it.
It looked officially released at the point I saw it.
Okay. Yeah, they usually do that after it gets leaked.
I didn't know about that. But
I did not watch it, but I've heard it looks crazy.
Well, can I tell you how weird that whole... I feel like that whole thing is? So, you're talking about a movie that was supposed to be a kind of pseudo spin-off of Venom in the Venom universe, right? In the Venomverse that's without Spider-Man. And you get Venom, and then we know they're making this movie, and then Venom 2 somehow comes out before this does. And then weeks after Venom 2, when we finally get a full trailer for Morbius, it wasn't even supposed to drop yet? What? How did they not get their ducks in a row to put that out before Venom 2? We're gonna build this shared... Even Marvel got Incredible Hulk out before Iron Man 2.
I have no answers. What are you looking at me for? Sony does what Sony does. I don't know.
Having said all of that, I'm going to be the most positive voice you'll hear on the internet for Morbius until it comes out and it's terrible.
Good. Awesome.
I think it looks serviceable. I think it looks fine. I'm hearing a lot of, oh god, it looks just as bad as Venom. And however you feel about Venom, like, I don't think that first movie is the worst thing ever. It's just not what I wanted and counterintuitive and bizarre. That second movie I do think is like the worst thing ever. Or at least it's pretty awful. Like I said before, the novelty of that first thing, what was fun about that, apparently wore off on me very quickly, and I didn't need any more of that. This looks more sober than that, at least the way they've cut that trailer. What I'm trying to figure out is what people were expecting from a Morbius movie. Like, it's just kind of a weird thing to do all by itself. It's not a thing that's ever really had legs in comics that people have ever really cared about on its own. Morbius has been a member of, gritty underground teams, and he's been a Spider-Man villain. Like, that's what he is. I think the problem is just in the initial premise of give him his own movie. Nobody cares about that. So when anybody's looking at that, like what I'm seeing from that trailer is more or less what I remember of that character's origin in comics. Like it just kind of goes to show you that just because it's a comic property doesn't mean that it's necessarily worthy of being put on screen or that there's going to be all that much interest in it. And it's kind of that Teen Titans Go to the Movies joke of everything in comics has to get its own movie, no matter how like random and B-list it is, and no matter, you know, if there's like 5 people that might care about it. So like if you were gonna make a Morbius movie, it kind of looks like what I would think that movie would look like, and it does have that same thing that Venom did where it looks like the Morbius movie you would have made in the mid-2000s, but like maybe one of the more okay ones, one of the sort of better ones. Like I'm getting a lot of Blade vibes from it. I'm not expecting it to be as good as Blade, but at least it looks like it might have more of, you know, an identity, or it might just look like it's ripping off everything else and it takes itself too seriously and is actually really generic. I don't know. A lot of people are saying generic. It might look like it might be, but I also think that Morbius itself is sort of a generic thing. Like, I don't know, if you're gonna make it, this is kind of what I would have expected it to look like. So when I say like most positive, I'm not like stoked for that or anything. I just think it looks fine. Jared Leto is not giving an insane, crazy, over the top performance. I'm surprised by how much, or at least in that with what we're seeing in the trailer, I'm surprised by how much he seems to be reeling it in. I'll say that full trailer looked more like what I thought the Venom movie was going to be based on the teaser trailer, and then you could see some of that insane, manic, like just, you know, bizarre creative choices. You could see more of that in the full trailer with Venom, where it was like, oh, what are we doing? Oh, it's a comedy, is it? Okay. This doesn't seem to have that. There's a couple.
Yeah, he has to be taking the role more seriously than Tom Hardy, right? Like, we could at least say that.
He certainly seems to be. I think it's possible that it comes out and surprises people, not in that they'll be blown away by it, but just that it will actually hold together and make some semblance of sense. Like I don't think it's gonna be, you know, chock full of plot holes and stuff. I think it's just gonna be kind of bland and not all that interesting at the worst. So I don't know. I mean, like I'm not excited about it, but I'm not really getting why people are immediately like going, this looks like the worst thing ever. Clearly though, and this is why I said until it comes out it's terrible, because Sony doesn't clearly believe in this project at all. Now, I suspect that might be because they don't think they can sell anything that isn't bat stuff insane, like Venom. Was like, that's the ticket now. That's what we should have made. You know, I could have almost seen them doing the thing that Warner's did with the original Suicide Squad, and like recutting the whole thing based on, but based on positive reactions to one of their other things instead of negative reactions with BVS. But that does not seem to be happening. But anyway, they're releasing it in January, which is usually the you know kind of the kiss of death for movies. That's kind of the graveyard month, that in February. So they don't seem to believe in it. But also that trailer immediately opens with like the next big Marvel thing. And it's like it's gotta throw Marvel in your face, because otherwise you won't see it. Because what the heck is this? Who cares what? Why did they greenlight it? That's what I don't get, is why they even greenlit it.
Because of all the people pandering for a Morbius movie. You didn't hear the clamoring? Everyone was on board. I don't know. It's a mystery to me, man. We'll see. You're
not at least going to release that in October? And I mean, I say that probably about too many horror-type things, but January? You're going to wait that long after Halloween?
Well, it seems like a January movie.
Vampire? No, it does. But I don't know why they made. I mean, this has got that New Mutants thing, right? Where at some point somebody was excited about this project, and when it finally comes out, January, and like months or years after it was supposed to.
It's crazy. Connor says January, February, August, and September. Beware those movies.
Yeah, much of the time, that's right. Well, and I argued about this a couple years ago with Eric about Glass, because I thought there was a chance that movie would be okay. He's like, it's in February. It's going to be the worst thing we see this year. And I was like, let's not make assumptions. And then we went and saw it. And yeah, he was right. It was probably the worst thing I saw that year.
Let's see. Mercer Create. At least we need no longer fear the banana.
So that is probably a reference to something I'm not I don't know if that's a Death Note thing that maybe I haven't gotten to yet, or that I'm not remembering.
I hope so. I hope it's not. I hope it's just something he made up.
You hope he's just saying that? Man's just talking. Look, he put in a super chat so that the question was read, and it was read, and it was glorious, but I have no idea what it means.
Yeah, it wasn't even a question, just an exclamation that I fully agree with. I don't fear bananas. I like bananas. They're probably my least favorite fruit.
But I love opening that with "at least." You know?
At least.
Like we're talking about some kind of depressing things going on in the culture. There's
Yeah.
But, at least you don't have to be afraid of the banana.
We're in the end times. I mean, everything's going down to the pot. But at least we no longer have to fear bananas. But when did we have to fear bananas? What was the time that we did have to fear the banana?
That's my question. Because it used to be, yes, we have no bananas. And now it's, we need not fear the banana. I've got this chip and I'm gonna eat it! Sorry, what?
People in the chat are just pretending like they know what he's talking about. Valtuum's like, y'all don't remember the bananas? Everyone knows about the banana.
The only thing, and this is not the line, the only thing that comes to mind is that weird line that Aunt May has at the beginning of Far From Home, where she's like, you can like fight supervillains or whatever, but you're afraid of bananas, and she has that like weird line reading where she's like, bananas. And I'm sure that's not what he's talking about, but that's the only connection I can make right now.
I thought, for some reason, when you said that line that Aunt May has, I went to the speech in Spider-Man 2 that Rosemary Harris gives him. I was like, does she talk about bananas in that speech?
No, do you not remember that?
No, I don't remember anything Far From Home. I've scrubbed that movie from my mind. I hate it.
But this tells us something, and I know that this might just be because you don't like that movie, and you're just trying to erase your memory of it. But I just think it's really funny that character and that actress get nothing to do in those movies, and one of her like 6 lines, that's the only one that's remotely memorable to me, you don't even remember.
No. She's a
I think that's very telling.
It's a shame. I love Aunt May. All right. Well, thanks for the banana super chat, Mercer Create. We very much appreciate it. Maybe pop in and let us know what the heck you're talking about.
We talked about that longer than you thought we would.
Yeah.
Beat Bop Boop was weird. It was weird. I had to start over.
Beat Bop Boop pops in again with a 179 euro super chat. He says, "Are you still in touch with King 191912?"
I haven't talked to
he's been with us for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like all of his interests right now are just in like 12 years ago Geekvolution history. I haven't talked to King in a long time. He messaged me a couple of years ago. He was kicking around doing a request for a video game, but I haven't talked to him since then. I hope he's doing all right. He's got my phone number. He can call me anytime. But I've not talked to him in a while.
Yeah, I remember those Batman panels that you did on Eric's channel were one of the first things I listened to of you guys.
That's how I met him. Was doing
good stuff.
Those, yeah.
Classic YouTube content. All right, why does it have to be chickens? Back again. He's just letting us know that he's Spartacus. I mean Thomas Ledbetter.
I knew it.
Thomas.
I knew it was somebody that's. But you get a whole new mental image of people when they change their handles,
especially when it involves chickens or bananas or raptors. I wonder if Raptor Rar is a regular, or if that's a whole new person. It has to be, because he knows you love raptors. He has to at least be familiar with you a little bit. Banana quote is from the Orville. Everyone's saying
Oh, okay. Unfortunately, I don't know that show well enough yet. I've seen all of it once, and it's been a year and a half since I've watched any of that. I love that show, but not enough time in the day. I haven't gone back and rewatched any of it.
Slipmaker made the joke I was trying to get to earlier. He says, "I believe there's a banana in all of us. Keeps us honest, keeps us noble, and finally allows us to be full of potassium."
Wow.
That's what I was trying to get, but I couldn't remember her stupid speech.
That's really fun. I believe there's a banana in all of us. I don't know why I went like half British with that, but whatever.
That's what you do when you're doing elderly women. I don't know.
They just go British. Just always.
All right, let's move along.
Oh,
to
you
another
threw out my
fear.
comic book? Those dreadful things!
I threw those away.
I threw those away!
Ugh. More grandparents have ruined more comic book collections.
What she doesn't know is that he could have put himself through college, probably. Like,
yeah, depending on what he had. He might have had a good one.
well, I want to think that he had first printings of every book that Stan Lee put out in the 60s except for Spider-Man. That's what I think happened there.
That's where that...
And Doctor Strange, because it's taken. So we know those two things were in that shared universe. That was it.
That's all it was. I would believe it if you told me that Peter learned everything he learned about the English language from Stan Lee's writings.
Oh yeah, I would too.
He's a very, very awkward person.
The other theory I might have would be he was a big Captain Marvel fan, like DC Captain Marvel, because of the whole Shazam thing.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Maybe that was a lot of his comic collection.
Yeah, that's just like an old person joke, like everything in those movies. It's like an old person joke where, like, a teenager would not think to say Shazam, but maybe like a 50-year-old would be like, "Oh yeah, I remember Shazam." It's such a weird thing.
No, but they would have thought of it if they had been reading Stan Lee comics in the 60s. It was,
yeah.
You know, it's almost like a blast from the past sort of situation where you just expect that Peter grew up in that house, but like they locked him in his room all day and he was never allowed to leave. And then they only gave him like paraphernalia and like records and books and comics and things from the 50s and 60s. So he just grew up talking like that.
Well, it's because Sam Raimi saw Tobey Maguire in Pleasantville and was like, just do exactly that. Have you seen that movie?
I thought that was after Spider-Man, though.
No, that's 90. It's in the 90s.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
I've still never seen that.
It's a great movie.
I know what it is.
I watched it recently.
And that's really funny that you said that. But no, I thought that was
he's like this kid obsessed with like this 50s TV show, and he's like all stuck in the past. And I was like, this is why he got the Spider-Man job when I finally watched it. It's a really, really good movie.
Like Gomer Pyle and Andy Griffith used to go around saying Shazam all the time.
Yeah.
And that was early to mid 60s.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. That's like I don't even want to. That's like 60 years ago now.
I know. It's crazy to think that. And I know this is obvious because of math and whatever, and I'm getting old, but like you're older. But when I was a kid, the 60s just didn't seem, that far behind us. Like, 96, I was 12, and I remember, I have vivid memories of thinking about all this stuff because I watched a lot of like 60s TV and listened to a lot of oldies and stuff. And I would think about how much farther away that felt because of how much the world had changed. And now it feels like 150 years ago.
Yeah. Yes. I was going to say 98. Daniel says Pleasantville is 98. That's right.
Okay. And it's funny because I referenced Blast from the Past. That's right around the same time.
Oh, yeah. David22, $2. Could fear gas scare the Daredevil as he is blind? Interesting. Yeah. You could still inhale it, but aren't you seeing it in your mind? So technically, I would still mess with them.
I would think it would still affect you, and I would think
because it's not something your eyes are literally seeing. It's like a hallucination. I guess I don't know enough about hallucinations. Can blind people get hallucinations?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not qualified to answer this question in a medical way, but I guess I'm of two minds about it. Because I immediately went to where you did, where it's like, well, you're not physically, you're not actually seeing the things, but you think you are, right? Like, you're seeing everything else around it. So very often, I mean, sometimes the fear toxin, and obviously there's not like a consistent way to do this because a lot of different writers have dealt with Scarecrow in a lot of different ways, but very often you'll be in the same location you are, and the fear toxin will affect the way you're looking at things that are actually there. And so you'll see like...
It just distorts them. At least
it distorts them. So you'll see a friend, but it will turn into, a scary monster or something. So the question is, would it affect whatever your perceptions were regardless of sight? So if you were, say, Daredevil and you're hanging out with Foggy Nelson and you get hit with fear toxin, would you hear and see the way Daredevil can see things, a big scary monster, but you aren't visualizing it, it just affects your senses with like every other sense? I would imagine that's how I would write it if I were writing that.
Yeah. And you could do it either way. Like, he could see his own like Daredevil vision hallucinations, like, because he sees in some incarnations he sees some things, or he could just have auditory hallucinations, like Connor said, which would be even more horrifying, maybe.
Yeah, but you could also, I mean, I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to write that, and like a realistic or unrealistic way to write that, because I could also see writing it as he's completely immune. Yeah. And when everybody else is getting these hallucinations, he's not even immediately understanding what's happening because it's not affecting him. And I think if you wrote that, people wouldn't necessarily cry foul on it. You could just be, oh, Daredevil's not affected by this. This is a thing he can get around.
Yeah, that's a great question. Hawk Flame says blind people can't have dreams, so he imagines they can hallucinate.
Yeah.
Same basic principle. That's awesome. That's interesting.
Now, here's a question. If you're blind, because it's all in your mind, could you hallucinate that you can see again?
I imagine if you had been able to see before you became blind.
But not if you were born
always
that way,
been
probably.
blind.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't. Your brain wouldn't even know what images to show you.
But maybe that wouldn't stop you, especially if you can still dream.
Yeah.
Because you would certainly still have the ability to imagine what sight is like based on, every account you've ever heard of what it's like to see. So I think even there, and that's fascinating, the idea that you might be able to hallucinate seeing when you've never seen anything before.
Yeah, that's interesting. Wow. What a great question, David.
That's a great question.
All right. The next one is also from David22. Another fantastic question. Have either of you had a chili dog? Ever or recently? Chili dog. I don't even know if I have. I'm not a big hot dog person.
I have. It's been a really long time, and I don't eat hot dogs anymore. Because, like I said, I don't eat anything but chicken and fish at this point. But I was never the biggest fan of that. I have like a really bad digestive system, so that kind of thing was just never going to my stomach in the first place. But yeah, Sonic makes those, and I had those a couple times here and there.
Yeah, I've never been. That's like a big baseball thing, right? People eat hot dogs at baseball games.
That too.
I've never been to a pro baseball. We just won the World Series here in Atlanta, by the way.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Cool.
I didn't even. Apparently, there's a parade tomorrow. I don't even know it. Like, I was gonna meet with somebody who was like, "Oh, I don't know. If you're planning on going to the parade, that might mess things up." And I didn't even know what parade he was talking about. I'm so not into sports. My wife had to explain to me that there's a parade tomorrow because we won the World Series. But
I had the same thing a couple years ago with the Chiefs. When we won the Super Bowl, because like I don't care about football and I don't pay attention to that. And I mean, like you couldn't go 5 inches around here without hearing about that. But when the parade happened, I didn't hear about it right away, and then it shut down the whole city, and you couldn't hardly do anything because there was a parade. And I was like, oh my god, who cares? And like, I get that people care about that, but I didn't, and so it was inconvenient for me.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy how big it is. I have so if you guys don't know, Criterion does a 50% off sale at Barnes & Noble twice a year. In November, it's all month long right now. So I just went and picked these 3 up. And I'm going to go back tomorrow with my friend, who I just met at my son's birthday party, who's also a big Criterion Blu-ray collector. He has he has a bunch of them. So we're going to go together. And he was like, well, we can go tomorrow or we can go in the weekend if you're planning on watching the parade. I was like, I don't even know what that is. So we could definitely go tomorrow if you want. But yeah, we're going to go pick up pick up some more movies. So yeah,
I have probably,
let's see what we got next.
I probably ranted about this before, but the chili dog thing reminds me of something that drives me crazy, which is that the Sonic restaurant has never teamed up with Sega to do anything with Sonic, and it's right there, and it's so obvious, and it drives me insane that they've never done anything with that. Cause so two things. First of all,
especially when it was big, like
Sonic,
really big.
The character in the old cartoon show and in the comics, eats chili dogs. Obsessed with chili dogs. That's the first thing. Like, they have this obvious connection. Like, even with products, they have right there. And then when the Sonic movie came out, they didn't get the toys. I don't know that they even bid for it. Maybe they did and they lost. But, like, it's right there. How do you... And it's not like they don't ever do product tie-ins. I don't understand that. It's such a giant missed opportunity. It's ridiculous. On both counts. Because if... Let's say just for the month that movie was out, and they could have done, their version of Happy Meal toys or whatever. Sega would have had, whatever the company put out that movie, because I don't even remember who has that. Is that Paramount? I forget.
It seems like a Paramount thing. I
think it was, but yeah, like whatever studio had that, you would have obvious advertising for your movie and that character for at least a month, just in the signage. Like, the restaurant is called the thing that your movie is. I don't understand that.
Yeah, that seems like a no-brainer.
I don't think they've ever done anything.
That's weird, especially like in the 90s. It should have been a no-brainer.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, here we go. $7.99 from James Egan.
Oh wow! Thanks, man.
Do you ever see yourself being burnt out with superheroes in every genre? And how would this impact your career?
I think it's interesting the way he worded that, where it's like, as long as there's still some subgenre where I still like superheroes, I'm okay. Like, I can still watch these things, the things that are released over there, and I can still kind of do the job. Soon as in every genre, I'm done. What do you do? Boy, that's complicated, and I feel like I could talk about that all day long. So I'll give you as close to a Cliff's Notes version as I can. I've actually, DJ, been thinking about doing a video on this.
Oh, fascinating.
I don't know. It would be really self-indulgent. I don't know how fascinating it would be, but I've considered doing a video, just kind of stream of consciousness, trying to break down whether or not I am tired of superhero movies and superhero fiction. Because the short answer is no. Because I still love the characters I love, and I still, of my own volition, will occasionally more than occasionally, sit down and read comic stories about particularly the big characters that I love, Batman, Superman, and such. And will still sometimes go back and rewatch movies that I love, even if it's not for a video, the rare times I actually have time to do that. I still watch Batman Begins probably once a year. I don't rewatch a lot anymore, DJ, and I hear this from a lot of adults that used to rewatch things a lot when they were kids or in high school, that had you do it too. Eric's told me about this. I think as we get older, we just don't have as much time. We don't think to do it as much. But when I was younger,
there's just too many things I got to get to. Like, I've broadened that part of it. Is with getting older, I've also broadened my palette so much more that there's so much more to watch. When I was a teenager, all I watched was superhero, sci-fi, fantasy stuff. So I was like, this is my pool, and I just keep going back to it. But now there's always something new I want to check out, and I just don't have time to rewatch stuff.
That's actually a really good point, and I hadn't considered that, but I must have that too, because I keep adding new hobbies and things, like stuff that I never used to care about, and I've gotten a lot more into biopics and documentaries and things like that. And also, like, some of the things that I do rewatch now, of the few things that I discovered as like a 30-something adult, and I'll go back and rewatch, or not the kinds of things that I used to. Like, there's a couple documentaries I've seen 5, 6, 7 times. That didn't used to be the kinds of things that I would rewatch, but I do now. Like the Roger Ebert documentary, I've probably seen 5, 6 times, and the same thing with the Mr. Rogers documentary, and there's some things like that that for I don't know. I'm not sure how to word this, but like I guess things like that you very often will rewatch a thing to put yourself in a particular mood or something, to like feel a certain way, or to clear your mind or something. And just the things that do that for me now are not the things that they used to be necessarily.
Yeah, a lot of the only things I really rewatch nowadays is because I'm showing it to somebody, either my wife or my friends or my kids. That's when I rewatch stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I know you watched Facing the Crowd like 3 times in like a couple weeks because you were showing it to a lot of people.
Yeah, and that was showing people, because I'm very quickly realizing that is one of, if not my favorite movies now, favorite movie now. But I don't have time to put things on the background, or to sit and study a thing over and over again unless I'm making a video for it. So like a lot of the reason that I've seen a lot of more recent superhero movies more than once is just because I do this. And so I mean that's good for when I finally get to the rewind, because at least I'm not just going off of the time I saw it in the theater. Like usually I've also done or very often anyway, I've done a commentary already, and I used to do a how we felt about and a spoiler cast on a lot of brand new movies, and so I would have seen the thing at least twice before I even got to a commentary, if not the rewind. But I don't have time for that now either. Anyway, so let me get back to the question. I don't see myself ever fully getting tired of superhero stuff. I've done it for so long that this is going to sound awful. I'm trying really hard not to sound cynical, trying to answer this question, because I'm not trying to put anybody off the superhero stuff and be like, look, it's all old and it's been done to death and it's played out and let's all just move on. Because I don't actually feel that way. At the same time, this has been my job for so long now, DJ. It is difficult sometimes to, and I don't want to constantly psychoanalyze myself, it is difficult to suss it out and know why I watch things I watch sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like, is it just because I'm expected to, or I actually want to? I'm actually excited about this. Sometimes I actually don't know the answer to that, where it's obligatory at this point. Like, I am going to see every superhero thing that comes out. Like, it's, at least movie-wise, it's obligatory. Mm-hmm. I got really sick of a lot of bad and repetitive writing in the CW and some other TV stuff, so I forced myself to quit doing that, because there weren't enough hours in the day in the first place, and it was breaking my brain and ruining my brain cells. At least the movies are still, as many of them as come out, are more few and far between than that, so I get a little bit of a break in between them. But I really think so having said all that, I really think legitimately I'm not full-on tired of superhero stuff. I am tired of some of the way we're making some stuff now. And I've been talking about this, and I know some people are irritated about the way I talk about this because they're not having the experience that I'm having with it. But it's not that everything that MCU puts out now I hate, but a lot of it just doesn't feel for me in a way that it used to, and I feel a little bit left out now. And there's a crowd, and a very large crowd, and it's a lot of the mainstream that didn't grow up with comics and stuff. And I know a lot of folks that like comics are also liking that stuff. I mean, not everybody's the same. But I'm just saying that a lot of that stuff is not geared toward me, aimed at me, not what I think it used to be. And yeah, I'm a little burnt out on some new stuff, some current stuff. And that kind of sucks, but I'm still seeing all of it. So I still think that I am primed for a lot of things to like grab me and get me excited again. It just hasn't been happening as much lately. If you listen to me talk on a regular basis, and you think that I'm just fed up with this stuff, and that I'm going in like expecting to or wanting to hate everything, and that's why I'm coming out disappointed. I can see why you might get there. With respect, I don't think that's what I'm doing. Because I still say that my standards are so low very often that it would be easy to impress me at this point. And there are things that I think my standards are lowered. I really do. I think that there's things that I'm liking more than I would have had they come out a decade ago. And not everybody's going to agree with that, but I'm just calling it like I'm seeing it. That's how I feel about it. So no, like not wholesale. I don't see ever being completely burned out. We're like we got that Long Halloween 2-part movie recently. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. That's an old story I've read lots of times. If I was just full on, burnout with superhero, was kind of done with it and only doing it for this, I would have been like, I've seen Long Halloween. I'm done with that. And I kind of did feel that way with the first time I saw that first part, and then I watched them both together, and I was like, this is kind of great, and I was really into it, and it brightened my mood for that whole week. So like, no, I'm not wholesale, and I don't see ever wholesale being that way. But I do feel differently about the way we're doing the genre now overall than I did 10 years ago. I don't think there's enough variety, and I don't think it's for families and children often enough. Also, that's part of the problem too, is that we've just gritted up and horrified and darkened up too much of it. There's just not enough variety. I'm not saying that we shouldn't ever have that take on stuff, but I don't want everything to be Titans and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, for me personally, the big difference is it's big enough now that it's just a genre, and I can take what I like and leave what I don't. So. Yeah. Like back in the early 2000s, I just bought every superhero movie. I was like, this is awesome. We got a Hulk movie. We got a Ghost Rider movie. We got a Daredevil movie. I just liked all of it. And now it's just like, there's enough of it. I can like Spider-Verse. I can like Shang-Chi. I can not like Venom. I can not like Dark Phoenix. Like, I don't have to like everything. I just take one or two every couple years, and I'm like, I'm good. I don't know.
You also don't
a big
have to
genre
see
now.
everything either. I mean, it's easier to be choosier now. And I've said this before, but people that still have the mentality, and I mean, again, we're all different. I'm trying to respect people that think differently about this or have a different experience. But I have to say, I don't understand folks that still have the mentality of, like, thank God these things are finally being made, and like we're having to back a football team or something, and like it's all good because it's there. I really do feel like there's that mentality, and I don't understand that. I think like you were just saying, I had that too to some degree in the 2000s, where it was harder to be real critical of it because it was so exciting that we were taking it seriously enough that the stuff was getting made. Fantastic Four was not as bad of a movie in 2004 as it is now. Like, some of that stuff doesn't age well, and maybe wasn't brilliant when it came out, but was serviceable, and that was good enough back then, and it felt better than it was. Now...
Oh, yeah. When I was 10 years old, Fantastic Four was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Now it's like...
And
now those movies are like Venom. Those movies are still coming out, but... but we're not liking them nearly as much now.
Yeah, we are kind of past that point now. And so I just feel like
I wonder if
my standards and
genre
expectations have to be higher at this point.
I wonder if, like, when the Westerns were first starting, or when musicals were first coming out, if every genre has those kind of baby steps where it's like a new thing.
Yeah.
And now it's just become a regular genre that we're all used to. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get at, DJ. Is like, I don't get the mentality of it's still a novelty.
Yeah.
Especially when it's so much of what's keeping Hollywood going. How's that a novelty?
Well, and I don't like that the studios that are making them feel like they keep needing to make them a novelty. Like, we got to keep pushing it further. We got to go to space. We got to do interdimensional stuff. Like, no, I don't know. That's what's turning me off mostly, is like always needing to up the ante every time. I just want good stories in that genre.
And I also wish that they would up the ante in the right way, because they could be taking more story risks. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because at the same time is
superficial stuff.
Everything feels like it, or very often anyway, that it has to get bigger and the stakes have to be higher and higher to the point where you can't make them any higher. It also feels like they're getting more formulaic.
Yeah, same formula with just higher stakes and a new twist.
So it's just, if you think everybody's going to go to these anyway just because it's the hot thing still, and it doesn't seem to show any signs of stopping, then why not let storytellers take more creative risks? And more of the kind of risk that I feel like MCU was taking early on.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know if we're ever going to see a Winter Soldier again. Or even a Civil War.
I don't know.
I mean, we learned recently there's this book that's about to come out, or I don't think it's come out yet, and I forget what it's called. I just saw articles about this last week, about the making of the MCU in the first 10 years, and it's sounding like it's going to be a little juicier than I would think that Disney would allow it to be. And there's apparently a story in there about how the Russos fought tooth and nail to get the ending of Civil War that they got, and that the Russos, I mean, in Feige too, and that the studio was trying really hard to sanitize it and make it just a real standard, typical superhero ending where Tony and Steve would just get along again in the third act and come together to fight a supervillain. And the Russos were like, "That's not the story we want to tell. We're not going to do that."
Wow, good on them.
And it almost didn't turn out the way it did. And now I feel like the studio's getting their way more, and that's the kind of thing we're getting. I don't know that you'll see that again. That's my worry.
That's interesting. Well, we have the next super chat is perfect to go into exactly what you bounce off what you were just saying. So you were saying we're not taking risks anymore, and I think a lot of people thought Eternals
not enough
could be one of those risks. But Maniac Madness 11 says, does the low critical score on Eternals make you more excited to see the movie?
I have been trying my darndest to not think about it.
Yeah, I wish I didn't know at all. I wish people would stop.
I do too, because I've not seen it yet. And I will say the only thing that score has done for me is it's making me feel the need to rush to the theater and see it earlier than I was going to. Just because all I'm hearing is how apparently bad it is, and I don't want to get any details spoiled for me. And I always have that, obviously. Like I don't want to know what happens in that movie, but I particularly don't want to go in with too many preconceptions about the kind of bad it apparently is. Like I don't want to know. And so when I say that, like I'm trying to just not think about it, I don't agree with mainstream critics a lot. This happens both directions. This happens a lot. Where there'll be a thing that I thought was just absolutely atrocious that somehow got like 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, I don't understand this. It shouldn't have been put out. I've seen that with things that I thought were detrimental to the culture, and I'm like, I don't understand critics. But I've had it the other way too, where I'm like, no, that was fine, or that was pretty decent, and what's it doing sitting at, like 34% on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. Hotel Artemis I thought was a fine movie. I thought it was a super fun film. Really enjoyed it. Really low critical score on Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of people avoided that movie because critics didn't like it. I don't know what they were talking about. I thought it was quite good. And what do I know? But all I'm saying is, for my own personal enjoyment, I don't want to trust a critic score. That being said, it's hard not to make me a little nervous. I'm just trying not to think about it and go in and take it as much on its own terms as humanly possible.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me much. It might be for me. It's about 51%. I might be in the 50% that it's for, or I might be in the 50% that's not for. I mean, I don't know exactly what these critics are giving it, if they're giving it like a 2 out of 10, or if they're giving it like an average score and they're just not recommending it. I don't know, because like we always say, Rotten Tomatoes is either a thumbs up or thumbs down. And they might say it's pretty good, but I'm not going to recommend it at the end of the day.
It's a percentage of and yeah, we've said this a million times, but
Yeah, we always talk about
it's
this,
a percentage of positive reviews instead of a 50% on a scale where a single person said, on a scale of 1 to 100, it's 51. It's terrible. That's an F. Like,
yeah, I feel like that's how people read it sometimes, and that's
do.
just not what it is.
I think that's how people read it most of the time, and I think we need to stop looking at it because I don't think it actually tells us very much, especially because, I don't know, this is going to sound awful, but like I think that a lot of mainstream critics these days are scoring the way they are for different reasons very often than just I liked a thing or I didn't. And I don't mean to be conspiracy theorist, and I don't mean to say everybody's paid off. I just think that there are, more often than there should be, kind of some motives there, where it's too often about like PR and like looking like you're back on the right horse and stuff like that. And that's why I don't look at a lot of mainstream criticism anymore, because I think there's too much of that maybe going on. I don't mean to get into politics and stuff, but I do feel like it's too political. And I don't just mean political with a capital P. I mean, like, just the politics of reviewing movies. I mean, there is a political game there. And so, but the reason I say it makes me nervous, if I have to think about it, DJ, is I think that a lot of critics are too kind to Marvel movies just because it's had such a good track record thus far. And so...
Yeah, that is interesting. It's like a Pixar thing.
Yeah. So when I see 50-something%, it's hard not to think, maybe it should say 34. You know what I mean? So like,
but
I don't know.
If you'll remember, when Cars 2 came out, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think this is what you were saying when you did that podcast with Aaron, where you were like, you felt like people were piling on more to Cars 2 than was justified because it was like, oh, Pixar finally made a bad one.
Because they're expecting a masterpiece every time. Yeah. The difference is, it could, but most people would agree if this is a bad movie, it's not Marvel's first bad film.
Well, yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah. Obviously, we would agree that. And that's one reason I'm not really too concerned about it, because Ragnarok has like a 93%.
That's what I'm saying. The ones that,
and I hate it. So.
But the ones that I've thought are pretty not great, are movies that still the Rotten Tomatoes percentage is bizarrely high, which, I mean, you know, I'm not saying that none of those people didn't actually like those movies, but I've never understood the Ragnarok thing, man, because that movie is in the public world, outside of criticism, polarizing at best. I mean, I know a lot of people that like that movie. I also know a lot of people that feel the same way I do about it, and that percentage is not reflective of the culture, certainly. Last Jedi had the same thing. That's not me just dogging on movies I didn't like. I'm just stating a fact. Like, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what Man of Steel or BVS's were, but like, if it was anything over 50%, it's just not accurate to how. And I know that that's not necessarily the point of them, but I'm just saying, like, it doesn't reflect the rest of us. I'm not sure what the point is.
Yeah, and critics, so yeah, it's different. I mean, the fact that Thor: Dark World has a high score is even more shocking to me than Ragnarok, because you can at least play it was fun time at the theater with Ragnarok. I don't know who was having fun at Dark World. It's so boring.
No, that strikes me as a bunch of people that went to a movie and had like filters on. Because it was still too high off of Avengers. So soon off Avengers, yeah, exactly. And so they kind of saw what they wanted to see. They like picked up the. I'm hesitating because I don't want to put words in anybody's mouths. Again, some people might have legitimately enjoyed that movie, but I think there are people that potentially 10 years or whatever later, looking back on that and realizing that it wasn't as great as they thought it was, maybe latching on to the one or two legitimately pretty good things in that movie, and in their brains turning it into the whole movie. You know what I mean? It's like, Loki was great, so that was the movie. Well, it wasn't the movie.
Yeah. Well, good Loki scenes is more than I can say for Ragnarok. Mr. Roboto, $2. Morbius versus Spawn. Who defends Alice better? Alice? Who defends Alice better? That's an amazing question. I thought that was the name for a second, but yeah.
Well, I don't know a lot about Morbius, and I haven't read the books where he is a homeless person, because apparently there's this whole, a few years ago there was this whole like hobo Morbius run, and I think they might be pulling from some of that stuff. I never read that. Dan told me about it. I think it was Dan that told me about it. So I've never read any of that, so I don't know if he is proactive at all. If he defends anybody, then he's defending the alleys better. I guess Spawn will that's not fair. I guess Spawn will defend his alleys because he doesn't want his, homeless friends to get killed. So that'll be the only time that he's remotely proactive. But I'm still going to give it to Morbius if he does anything, because Morbius would have to try, and Spawn just stands there and lets his chains kill people, and then he complains about having to lift a finger that he didn't lift. Like, that's Spawn. So yeah, I don't know. If it's a proactive game, I'm going to always give it to whoever else you mention. Like, I don't know, the potato chip that was there and I ate it is probably getting more points than Spawn on that.
Man, I can't wait for your top 10 least proactive characters list that you're going to do in 2022.
Oh, man, I forgot all about that.
Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Spawn right at the top.
Are you just making that up, or was that a thing I said I was going to do?
No, I'm just making it up.
Oh, okay, because now I kind of want to do that. That's a good idea. It's a good idea. I should make that list. But I do think that 5 of them will be Spawn. Least proactive superhero... Least proactive in superhero movies would actually be really interesting, though.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's a tall
Unfortunately,
order.
there's a good bit of them.
Yeah. Now I just want to think about that. I gotta figure out what that would be. Anyway,
I just announced something, guys.
Let's continue, shall we?
Dave Atkins, hey,
Hi.
Captain DJ. Just wanted to say, Roger Nixon.
Roger Nixon. So Roger Nixon is one of my favorite characters in Smallville because just because he always talks.
Part of my job is I have to quote things that I don't know what I'm quoting. That's basically what I do.
It's a really weird job, but somebody has to do it because I'm not proactive enough to read my own Superchats.
Yeah. He's somewhere in the middle of that list.
Exactly. Number 6, Captain Logan. I like Roger Nixon solely because he talks about himself in the third person, and he has such a snivelly kind of voice, and he's always just hitting that R real hard. I'm Roger Nixon. Like, he's such an obvious used car salesman. He's great. I wish they'd kept him around longer.
I don't even remember. What season is he in?
1. And then he gets stuck in the storm cellar with Jonathan Kent during the tornado, and he stabs him in the back just as fast as humanly possible. He's like the most one-dimensionally scumbaggy character on TV. He's great. I love him.
That's awesome. Well, that's a deep pull then, if he's pulling all the way back from season 1. Good job, Dave Atkins.
He's in like, yeah, but back when I was writing those videos, I milked it for all it was worth, so like people remember it. That Nell, like I hated Nell so much, I just wouldn't stop complaining about her. I hated when they wrote her out of the show because I couldn't give a crap anymore. And then in season 2, the replacement for Roger Nixon in my mind is Dr. Walden, who I affectionately referred to in the reviews as Walden Books, because he's a researcher who's obsessed with like ancient cave symbols, so I called him Walden Books. And then he gets killed too early too, but he gets killed in like the most bizarre and dramatic way possible. As you do in Smallville. Par for the course. His hand, I'm spoiling things from a 20-year-old show. His hand has the kryptonite key in it, and he gets burned alive, and then the key is missing. And then when Lionel Luthor gets to his body, he notices that, and actually I have that same octagonal key sitting right here. See, it's this. It's this key.
Look at that. He's a real fan, guys.
But it actually wasn't. It actually wasn't the kryptonite key. That's going to be made because of this. So he had. I'm just remembering this. He had Clark's ship's key, and then it made these symbols. I don't know if you can see it, but it made these symbols indented in his hand, and then Lionel orders someone to cut his hand off and send it to him so that he can make the key out of kryptonite. Based on that key, it's one of the most hardcore badass things that John Glover does, and I want you to send it to me. Send me what? His line delivery is amazing. He just goes, the hand. So good.
The hand.
So good.
Oh man, John Kellig and John Henry in the chat want me to keep announcing things. They both ordered me to keep it. They like what I'm announcing, so maybe I'll keep doing it. And just
I'm gonna have to start taking notes though on the things that we're doing, based on just crap you make up. Like,
that's true. That's true. I'll keep track. I mean, you got it recorded online forever, so.
Well, that's true, but it's not like I'm constantly going back and listening to all of my shows.
Oh no, that's what Cap does. Well, as he's watching the Twins, he's just listening to me and him.
Well, I mean,
all day long.
I don't mean to be a hypocrite. I've gone on record to say that I do go back and listen to some of our stuff for various reasons, but I just mean that not like on loop, you know? Like,
I would hope not.
There's not a Captain Logan show I've listened to more than the one time. Like,
that's for the Super Captain Logan fans. Beep boop, beep bop boop.
He's back
for a third time. Oh man, big one here. Are you more hyped?
What ancient history are we going to go back to now? Sorry.
Oh, this is current.
Wow.
This is topical.
One of these things is not like the others.
Are you more hyped for The Batman or Batman Caped Crusader? The new trailer was amazing. I hope Dini and Burnett will be involved in the show.
Dang it, I didn't know that had dropped yet. I'll try to talk about that next week, guys. Sorry about that. I missed it. And I didn't have a chance to go through any trailers and stuff that I missed today. Quick plug, though, for the public Discord. If you're not currently there, you can join that. Again, it's free. It's not on Patreon. We have a Patreon Discord that you can jump on, and that's more like an After Dark Discord. We get crazy in there. If you want to get
Very
crazy
dark.
and you're not easily offended, join the Patreon Discord. But in the public Discord,
the darkest depths of depravity, really. It's the dark side of humanity in there.
It's fun. Kidding. The guys are nice, but they'll say anything. Anyway, I do mean anything. So I'm not gonna name names.
Just Austin's.
Besides the day goes. But anyway, if in subject, but besides that, I'm not gonna name any names. So anyway, if you go to the public Discord, there's a bunch of channels for a bunch of different topics. People are always keeping those things active. There's a dozen or more conversations happening all the time over there. There's about 100 people, at least 40 or 50 pretty regularly active in there, I would say. And lately I have not had time to check it out that much myself. I go in whenever I get a chance, and I'll post things occasionally. I'll read some things. But a lot of our hardcore viewers are keeping that going, and it's a wonderful community, and I want to thank all those guys for keeping that going. And thanks to my moderators in there, too, for doing my job for me, because I don't have time to do it. But anyway, so in there is a channel for news links for this show, and this week I just didn't get a chance to go in there and look at them, and I will try to make sure and do that next time, so I apologize, because I'm sure that trailer was in there, and those guys have been wonderful, because they've let me be more lazy and not have to do a lot of research on my own, which I just don't have time to do, and so I can go in there and find out pretty much every major thing, and sometimes a bunch of minor stuff too that's happened recently. And if there's anything that you want to make sure that I get my eyes on, or try to get me to get my eyes on, that would be the place to go post the links, is the reason I bring that up. But anyway, so I don't want to answer this question yet, even though it's a super chat, until I've seen that trailer. I mean, on the face of it, just based on what we've seen and what we know so far, I have to say The Batman. But once I see that trailer, that absolutely could change my mind, because I certainly am potentially excited for that. And if people are digging that trailer, I'm going to assume that it's as stylistic as I'm wanting it to be. So that, I'm sure, is exciting. But I'll try to take a look at it and talk about it next week. Somebody
asked where the link is to the public Discord.
So I need to figure this out because I don't know if there's a way to post one that never expires. I've not figured that out yet. They seem to expire. I posted one in the community tab on YouTube about a week ago or maybe 5 days ago. So go see if that link still works. And if it doesn't, I'll post another one. But there doesn't seem to be a way to just keep it open. I keep trying. Because that's not a thing that I need to have to approve or anything. Because again, it's public. Anybody can be in there as long as you follow the rules, and they're not hard rules. Just don't be mean to people, and don't spam things. Those are mostly the rules. Anyway, but yeah. So if you don't, if you try to click on that and it doesn't work, I'll post another one. Tonight, if somebody messages me and tells me that that's not working.
Yeah.
All right.
Good talk. Chewbacca's Lover. It's hard to rewatch.
The house cleaning show live.
Hey, put you in a French maid outfit in the thumbnail. That'll get people flooding in.
That sounds horrifying. I'm sorry, I lost my kryptonite key. Hold on.
Oh, just gotta go pick up his keys.
I need that for the garage. Anyway, moving right along.
That would be awesome. Someday in your house, you're gonna have that.
And if it worked just like in Smallville, where you don't even put it in, you just hold it up there, and then it somehow like leaves your hand and hovers of its own volition, and then and then there's like bright lights for no reason, and like, it'd be amazing.
That would be incredible. Chewbacca's Lover, in response to our conversation, this came in while we were talking earlier about rewatching things. He says, It's hard to rewatch whole movies when you can see all your favorite parts on YouTube. I used to rewatch things because those scenes came into my mind. I don't know if I have that as much.
I don't have that, and I think that is a more recent phenomenon. I don't know Chewbacca's Lover's age or anything, so it could be that some folks my age getting, deep into YouTube, do sometimes spend some of their YouTube time just looking at some of their favorite scenes. I don't tend to watch things to see a scene. I don't think, DJ. I think I rewatch things to try to get something as close to the first time experience that I can, or to get a new perspective on a movie that I know I didn't pick up everything, or I'm trying to appreciate and understand plot and characterization better, that kind of thing, or something that I just love so much because I like trivia. The other reason that I'll rewatch things, maybe the main reason I'll rewatch things, is just to be as close to an expert on a thing that I like as I can. When I was in high school, that was my whole thing with Star Trek. I would just rewatch stuff all the time because I was running a club and I wanted to really know it. So I want to apologize for the Facebook beeping. I'm gonna have to tell Brandon to stop messaging me.
Dang it, Brandon. No, I'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit while you're doing that. I have this a little bit, but it's with movies that I don't like. So if there's a scene that I like a lot in a movie that I don't like, I might just watch that scene. For instance, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I absolutely love not the opening with the plane, but the Spider-Man opening where he's swinging through the city and chasing Rhino. That's one of the best Spider-Man action scenes we've ever gotten. So I like to watch that scene, and then I like to turn the movie off because I don't want to watch the rest of it. But yeah, I love that scene. There's a couple other things. Like I said, that has also been affected by me getting older. I don't do that as much anymore, but I used to watch that scene a few times a year because I really like that scene. But I haven't done the YouTube thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like now that he mentions that, now that you say what you just did about Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, I feel like I should have that maybe a little bit more than I do as far as just using that. I don't take advantage of it. Like using the fact that a lot of that stuff is there just to show people clips of stuff and things like that. Like I don't think to do that, and I have a really dumb reason why. It's because I'm a YouTuber and I'm used to not being able to post copyrighted things. So I forget that copyrighted things are even there because you're not supposed to, in my head.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense in your brain because you've been trained so hard to not post that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's tons of channels that are just posting scenes from movies. I don't know how they do it, but that's all they do. But yeah, even if it's something like that, I'll just watch my digital copy of Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't have to go to YouTube.
Oh, sure,
Bob
yeah.
the Hun.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely. I'm up for switching things up. Let's switch up the game.
So I'm gonna give DJ a super chat. I'll give you money later. So, DJ, do you? This was, and I didn't do a square off polls tonight because I wanted to give you guys the whole 2 hours.
They've taken advantage of it. It's been great.
Yeah, you guys have been wonderful tonight. Thanks so much. I will probably do that again next week because it's fun to go through those and see just where all the percentages are. But anyway, but I did a square off poll last week about this, and I'm curious to know specifically your position on it. I asked if you own something on DVD, like if you're or Blu-ray, if you are a physical collector, do you actually get your discs out just because you own them, or will you stream if the streaming option is available? Like, are you anal enough that's like, I bought this thing and it's just sitting on my shelf, I have to physically put it in my player if I have it, even if I have streaming access? Where do you land on that?
I did not see that one, so I'm glad you brought this up because I do have thoughts on this. Yes, I will do it for several reasons. First reason is I'm a stickler for quality. So if I have it on 4K or Blu-ray, it's usually better than streaming. So I like to watch my disc. A new reason is because I am trying really, really hard to get my son into physical media. And anytime we have a copy of what he wants to watch or what I want to show him, I will bring him all the way upstairs, let him pick it off the shelf, let him take it out and put it in. I'm really getting him into it. He really likes discs already. He loves putting the discs in. He loves pushing the button and letting it close on the Blu-ray
just
player.
Setting him up for disappointment.
I don't want him to just, because I believe.
Don't do that with video games. That's a mistake.
I want him to appreciate that it is a tangible, valuable thing and not just that everything exists in the TV. Absolutely. And all he has to do is just press a button and it's there. I want him to know totally that
joking. Yeah,
we don't have that, or we have it. We have to go upstairs and get it. Like, that's something I'm really trying to promote in my household anyway, because I don't like the idea that like a kid will never have the, oh, I only caught this episode on TV. They just have every episode right there, and it automatically freaking plays the next one without even asking, and I hate that. I just want to watch one episode. So yeah, I watch the discs, unless the one way I won't watch the discs is if I'm in the bedroom with my wife watching something, because we have a Blu-ray player here in the playroom, and we have a Blu-ray player downstairs in the family room. We don't have one in the bedroom currently, so we'll stream in there if that's where I'm at. But I don't watch things in there that often. So that is my answer. Sorry if it was long-winded.
No, not at all. That's
how's the poll going on that one?
Say again.
How's the poll going on that one? Is most people just stream?
I think, yeah, but it's not as staggering as you would have expected. I'm not gonna go look up the number right now, but last I looked at it, it wasn't even like, like 70-30. Like, it's better than that. But yeah. No, that's a real thoughtful way of looking at it with bringing your kids up. I
just want it to be an event. I want it to be like, I used to love. I mean, they already don't have the thing that I had as a kid growing up, going to the movie store and renting one every Friday.
And you just
so I at least want them. Yeah, I at least want them to have a little bit of an event around it. Like, we watch a movie Friday, we go upstairs and pick one out instead of just plop on the couch and essentially channel surf, but just on a streaming service, which is my least favorite activity in the entire world. I hate just skimming through Netflix all night and never actually picking something.
Yeah, and I don't have that very often. You know, it's funny. I had that with the anime thing because I had too many things I could choose from and too many suggestions. It took me about 15 minutes before I finally landed on Death Note because there were just too many different things I could have picked from. But usually I don't have that because usually I just go to a selection based on I have to review this thing. So like I very rarely like actually picked the things that I watch. Really. But anyway, I would love to handle that more like you do. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I think the thing for me is maybe, for lack of a better way of putting it, I'm a little bit more cynical than you are, because I know the time is going to come eventually where we're just not putting anything on physical media anymore. And so, like, raising your kids with it so that they can appreciate it, like you said, so that it's an event, and so that it's not something that they take for granted, like it's always there. Like it helps to curb an entitled kind of attitude about things, maybe, and like limitations are good for children, you know, is part of it. But at the same time, I have there's a lot of stuff that I'm just not gonna buy physically that my kids want to watch because I'm already paying for streaming services that they have it on, and I don't care to own it.
Oh yeah,
you know, like that can.
Yeah, I don't own Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood on disc, but my son likes that show.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so there's that. But anyway, we could talk about this some more than I'd like to, but we've only got about 20 minutes left on the program, assuming that the super chats run us out that long. So let's go ahead and answer some other things from folks.
Yeah, that's a great.
Before I run away with myself.
If Cap ever has the time, most of the stuff I do on my channel is about physical media and collecting stuff. So if Cap ever has the time, I'd love to have him on there and we can talk to our heart's content about collecting and stuff, because that's something we don't get to talk about too much on here. But
I'd love to do more of that
it.
kind of thing here too. I used to do more collecting stuff here and there, and it's just been a long time. Every now and again, people ask me when I'm going to do another collecting video for the superhero movie collection here behind me, and it's been a long time since I've bought a lot for that, and anything especially interesting. Oh, something else I was going to, which is why I haven't done a video yet. I probably have enough now, I sort of could, but the DJ, real quick before we move on, something I meant to say earlier is, I don't have the stickler for quality thing that you do, and I'm ashamed of it. Because I feel like I should have that, but my eyes just aren't good enough. And there's a lot of stuff where I just don't notice the quality difference. Like, I still can't tell sometimes the difference between DVD quality and Blu-ray quality for some things. And people think I'm insane. But
that's
even with glasses, my eyes are just not that great. Like, I don't see those nuanced differences. So 4K is so whatever. Like, I don't know one thing on 4K that I didn't buy just because it had a special box I wanted. Like, that's the only reason I own anything 4K. I don't have a player that can play it because I don't need it. Who cares? I don't care. I recently bought 2 or 3 movies still in 2021 just on DVD without the Blu-ray. Why? Because no special features, and I hated the movies.
Well, yeah, you have a little bit of different thing where you buy things that you hate.
I buy lots of stuff I don't like because I buy everything that's superhero, and as we talked about earlier, again, I don't mean to burst anybody's bubble, but I'm disliking more things than I'm liking right now in the comic and superhero movie realm. And I bought 6 movies a couple weeks ago, and I don't think I actually care for any of them.
Oh, that's so sad.
Or at least
I don't have that. I'm not a completionist in any facet, so I only buy things that I like.
And I'm only like that with this. I don't have anything else that I'm a completionist like this with, except for like the Tick. Like, there's hardly anything else I have this with. But a full-on completionist. I would be a completionist for Batman pop figures if some of them weren't astronomically expensive. But DJ, I had to buy like the Hellboy remake.
Oh no.
Birds of Prey.
Haven't seen it. I'm only going off what I've heard, so don't rail me.
In the Adventures of Stupid and Harley Quinn, and then and then
Dude, that's a better title.
One Harley Quinn. Can't even think of how that's worded now. I hate it. As Emancipation Proclamation of Harley Quinn.
Oh man, if she had gone back in time and freed the slaves, that'd be a movie.
That's a better movie instantly. The Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn versus Black Mask at the Underground Railroad. The movie.
The Harley and Harriet team up.
Man, and just like imagine that's your villain during slavery, and his name is Black Mask. Like, it's just like, it's right there. That writes itself. It really does.
It'd only be better if his name was Blackface.
It's immediately, wow. He is the most horrible human being that ever lived. I don't need to know anything about him. I already know he's the worst person who ever lived.
That's what you chose as your supervillain moniker. You are bad, dude.
Wow. That is the worst person ever. Anyway, I forget what else I bought. Black Widow, which, I mean, wasn't the worst thing ever, but it's not great. And I don't know.
That was rough.
Some other stuff I bought. I forget. The Snyder Cut is fine. It's better than it has any right to be. But sadly, the Snyder Cut is probably the best thing of the 6 things I bought.
Which is so sad. Oh, anyway. Man. I'm sorry, buddy. Someday. Someday we'll turn this thing around. Bob the Hun. What the heck you saying, Bob the Hun? It's important.
Hey, Bob, hold on. Now, I don't want to. I know you already wrote your question, and I don't want to put
like 30 minutes ago.
and I don't want to put the weight of the world on your shoulders here, but I really need you to right the ship right now, okay? I really need you to save the show. Let's see if Bob the Hun can save this show, because it is off the rails. Go ahead. Go ahead, right. Bob. From half an hour ago.
Yeah, this is when we were talking about superheroes earlier. He says, it's important to point out that superhero films and superheroes are not the same thing. Superhero comics, for all their faults, aren't like this.
No, that's true. And I don't know if he's just referring to the question that I was trying to answer earlier of like whether I ever see myself being burnout on superheroes overall. I was talking about comics too when I said that, but in the culture anyway, the movies have taken over so much that like that's the thing that if anything was gonna burn me out, probably would, just because that's the main focus of or one of the big focuses of the channel, and I watch and review nearly everything that comes out. I've lost interest in current comics overall, and that doesn't mean that nothing great has come out in the last year. I just haven't been buying or reading anything. Some of that is because I was saving money a lot earlier in the year, and I haven't had a pull list all year because I've been saving money. But I will try to start reading a little bit more stuff next year. It's also just been hard to make it a priority. And I will say that, like, just when I've had a little more free time, I have been going back and reading a lot of older stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, like, I'm obviously not totally sick of superheroes, because I was reading things that I wasn't reviewing when I was off from the channel. Actually, DJ, I was kind of doing that to see for myself how true this was. Because I was like, what do I feel like reading right now? Like 90s Birds of Prey. Okay, well, I guess I don't hate superheroes, and yet, because I don't have to do this. So like that kind of helped tell me something.
There's always that fear, right? Like,
yeah.
I think a lot of people ignore this as they get older, and they think it's just them, where they're like, oh, nothing's good anymore. It was only good when I was growing up, and I'm gonna stick with that stuff. But I think this is just within all of us. I think we all have the tendency. I'm not saying you're doing this, but I'm saying, like, something innately in human beings, as we get older, we don't like the things that are coming out as much as we do in the past. And there's always, at least for me, there's a pushing against that, like trying to be conscious of not. I do, especially with technology. Obviously, that's kind of a different thing. But like with entertainment, I'm constantly like trying to explore the merits of what's coming out, and not. I don't want to get set in my ways, like I see so many older people do. And I don't know if you have that, or if you've tried to resist that at all, or if you felt that.
No, I have. There's another video I want to make that's very related to this, which would be, and I haven't figured out exactly what this video is yet, but the title would be something along the lines of, is it really wrong to live in the past?
Mm-hmm.
This is a thing I think about a lot, because the adage, the conventional wisdom is, you have to always be moving forward, and if you're trying to constantly rekindle, because of nostalgia, a bygone era that you loved, that you missed, that you can't get back to, you can't move forward. You're just stagnating, and ergo, you're not improving and growing as a human being. Does that extend to culture? If you think that most of what you used to care about, what's being made in those genres, in those fields, is not good now, do you owe it to yourself or anyone else to keep looking at it? I would say not really, but then you also want to look at the reasons that you're feeling that way, like you said. So, I mean, you want to be self-reflective, and you want to be self-aware, and you want to say, am I not liking it because it's not what it was when I was younger? Or is it truly just not as good in my opinion? Or is it that it's not made for me? Because those can be different things. A thing can be perfectly fine and reasonable, but just wasn't made for you. Isn't like you don't appreciate, you don't relate to it. And you know, I have that sometimes too, but like, I don't think that I personally don't think that I've fallen down that hole too much, where it's just I miss like the 90s, and so I just want to go back and watch 90s movies or like early 2000s things.
Just a little different. Yeah.
Movies and TVs and stuff, in TV shows and stuff, because
just the TVs. He just watches TVs, nothing playing on them. He just wants to see the box TVs.
Because if that's happened to me, and I don't mean to just psychoanalyze myself constantly on the show, but if that's happened to me, the question... Say again?
It's in the name, so that's what I'm here
Self-indulgent, the show, the live show. If that's happening to me, the question is, has it only been in the last 10 years that it started to really affect me? Because I think some of the best stuff, like TV-wise, and movie-wise too, but especially TV that we've had in my lifetime, that I have gone back and rewatched over and over again, is some of the early streaming stuff that Netflix and a couple other places were making circa 2012, 2013, 2014. In my mind, that wasn't that long ago. I mean, like, you get married, you have kids, and then time moves like really super fast. So like, I don't feel like Spawn Year was that long ago. We finished that in 2014, and I was watching House of Cards, and I was catching up on Breaking Bad and stuff like that back then. Those are both shows that I've gone back and rewatched quite a bit. House of Cards I don't go back and rewatch anymore, but because the ending was the worst. But I was really into that for a while. Breaking Bad I've probably done 4 watches of now. And then so I question how much that's really happening to me. And the other thing too, DJ, is like I can recognize things like, yes, I still have this massive nostalgia for Power Rangers, but forget all my problems with it. The Boom comics are just objectively smarter and sharper written because they're trying to be, and that show wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, clearly. So like I can tell the difference. Like,
yeah. No, it's all about like you said. I think it's all about awareness, just being aware of why you're not liking things, and not to steer it into politics too much, because I don't want to do that. But because everything is doing that these days. But like to extrapolate a little bit. You got the two sides of politics. You got conservative and progressive, where one side thinks everything's getting like worse as the years go by. The glory days were great, and it's only been getting worse ever since then. And then you got the other side where it's like, oh, it was terrible, and we're getting better and better and better and better. And I don't think either of those are true. I think some things are getting worse, some things are getting better, and you got to find that balance. And I think that's what it is with entertainment for me too. Is
and
like,
we're not all going to.
We used to make great films. We used to make, and there be great films being made today. And you gotta. I don't ever want to get to the point where I think that they only made good films back in the day, or now we make much better films and all those films sucked. I want to be right in the middle and finding that balance and never stop thinking. That's my word of the day. Just don't stop thinking. Think for yourself, and be aware of why you're liking
great.
things.
I mean, we're never. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. We're never going to all agree even on the things that are getting better or getting worse. Also, like I think that's an important thing to note. Like you're right that when you have those two sides and they're polar opposite and they're totally extreme. Like you're right that some things over the years have gotten better and some things have gotten worse. But sometimes, and again, not to get too political, sometimes it's better or worse for different groups of people too. It's just it's more complicated. If you're a person of a particular persuasion who grew up in a particular place at a particular time, your perspective and your experience is different, so you might be glad that certain things happened that actually negatively affected and impacted other people that you don't even appreciate and realize that happened to. It's kind of like, it's the reason that it's weird that I'm bringing this up in the show. It's the reason I've never understood why Christians sometimes pray for it to rain. I don't understand that. And the reason is because
That's a weird thing to bring up.
And the reason is because, and I also don't mean to get too much into religion, but the reason is because this is going somewhere, I promise. If I want it to rain, there is somebody else that has a really good reason for it not to rain. So, like, at that point, you're telling God that you're more important than another person. You know what I mean? Like,
kind of a selfish thing. Yeah.
I don't want it to rain because I want to go to the swimming pool. But there's this farmer over here whose crops are dying because it hasn't rained in 50 days, and he really needs that to happen. So that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, you could extrapolate that to pretty much anything you pray for, really. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Something. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
But that's what I'm saying.
That's a fascinating thing we could talk about on After Dark.
Especially because of survival instinct, it's very difficult to consider other people when you want something. And that's the point I'm making. Is that, like, if something was great for you, it might not have been so great for somebody else, which is why it's so difficult for everybody to get along.
Yeah. It's complicated. It depends. All comes back to that.
Okay, we're almost at 2 hours. How many super chats are left right now?
Just 3.
Okay,
three
cool.
Short ones, and then one just back 4. One just popped in. Sorry.
I'm gonna call last call right now. If anybody else has any really burning ones, I'm okay with 1 or 2 more, but please try not to make them like 15-minute conversations, like things that we're gonna want to talk about for the next 5 years. Otherwise, we're gonna have to table it to the next show.
Yeah, no good questions. You can give us crappy questions that we can answer quickly. Bob the Hun, Eric's point about Ragnarok is spot on. It feels like people goofing off rather than trying to make a movie. That was one where it felt like people will like anything MCU, no offense to its fans.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone round and round on this, so I don't want to speak too much about it again, but I agree with that. And I don't mean to be a broken record, but like I also understand why some people like that over me. Some of it is not being as invested in the first place in the source material with expectations for what Thor is or ought to be. I mean, there's that, but also just if humor being such a subjective thing, if you are laughing really hard, it's easy to care about that over like what the story is actually doing, and I didn't find it that funny in the first place, so I can't say that doesn't affect me in some way. At the same time, there's also people that were really like thematically moved by that movie, and I didn't have that at all. So there's that. There's certainly an agree to disagree thing you got to do at some point.
Yeah, that was just one of those scenarios where I had nothing to latch on to. All the negatives lined up for me, and I was left out completely.
It's hard for me not to see that as a marketing strategy that should have backfired and worked brilliantly and sets a really bad precedent. That's how I've always felt about it. Is it was like
all they did was get the end of the rope, and they're just like, just do something with it. We have no ideas, so just do whatever you want, and then it worked.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you're gonna do more cosmic stuff in this one. Well, Guardians was a comedy, right? Make it like that. Except we didn't start with like a thoughtful script that just naturally lended itself to comedy. And then you saw that trailer, and it looked like this kind of almost rock opera, and it was like, oh, that looks like a really neat thing. It's a very much a kind of thing they haven't done yet, but if they're not careful, it could just turn into more Guardians, and in my mind, it was worse than that, because it wasn't even the kind of comedy Guardians was. It was some of that humor, but the humor completely took over. And I think that the second Guardians borders on that a lot more than the first one, but I don't even think that holds a candle to Ragnarok. I mean, that's still a lot more centered and focused on like an actual story than that movie is. There's just some places where the humor feels out of place and forced in, but it doesn't feel like we didn't have a plan, because Gunn, I know this is a novel concept, but he like writes a script and then he shoots a script.
Crazy idea.
It's nuts. They do that in some other countries too. I wonder if he got that idea from just traveling. I wonder if he went to Japan and he was like, oh, they write scripts, and yeah, they're a little wordy and overwritten, and they're probably telling you more than you need to know, but like they wrote everything down first and then they shot it. It's weird.
All right, Brightburn, 1985. Superman TS on Blu-ray. TAS on Blu-ray. Are you interested?
Absolutely. I want to. So this year, up until about half the year, I wasn't spending any money on myself, and then I ended up breaking that. I made it 6 months. I was doing really well, and I still spent a lot less money this year than I usually do. But some things came up that it was. I had to cave. It was just I found some really good deals on some stuff. I had to cave. It was bad.
It would have been immoral not to cave, guys. Some really good things came up.
I don't want to say immoral, but yeah, you know about some of that. Like I always end up
blame it on the Rangers.
Falling into it's the Power Rangers' fault. Absolutely. And then there was and then there was a whole arcade machine thing, but whatever. Anyway, this is not important.
Addiction is a disease, guys.
What I'd love to do next year is a New Year's resolution where I don't buy anything really except focusing on my superhero movie and television collection. I'd like to update some things because I have a lot of the Bruce Timm stuff on DVD, and there's some really nice DVD sets that I don't want to get rid of, but I may not replace them, but just, you know, update and keep them both. Part of the reason I have to keep DVDs around is because of Rewind, because I'm getting stills back into Rewind with the unscripted one, and so once again I need my discs because I can't pull screenshots off of Blu-rays, so if I don't have a DVD I have to get both, and if something's not released on DVD that gets irritating, because yeah, I can screen grab and pull things from a digital copy, but it takes a lot longer. I have to do it while I'm watching a movie. If I do it with the DVD, I can scrub through it, just take a bunch of pictures, and it's so much faster. It's really nice doing it that way. But anyway, so that's part of the reason that I have to keep my DVDs. But there's that Batman the Animated Series Blu-ray set that came out that I don't have. I'd like to have that. Some of it, this is for special features too, because a lot of these have put out new documentaries that I have not gotten to see yet. So yeah, and then Smallville had their big anniversary set that's already sold out. Nobody can get their hands on now. It's getting scalped everywhere, and I'm hoping that that stays in print and they print some more. Amazon has it listed right now as temporarily out of stock, so I'm assuming they're planning on putting more of those out, and I'll be able to get my hands on one. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that I own already, but I'd like to get the new updated versions of.
Cool.
I don't care about 4K, but
yeah, AMC Comics says, Capsule, I missed out on that Smallville box set.
Yeah.
Superman TS is mine. So yeah, Connor actually bought that Superman TAS set. He says it looks great. So.
Oh, sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, I have not been. I'm not a very good physical media collector, man. Like, I don't focus on it the way I should. I don't have, like, I used to buy, for about 4 or 5 years, I bought every superhero thing the day it came out, and I could get some of the, like, really nice, like, Target exclusive box sets I like those that would come out, and they run out real fast. And so if you don't go on day one, you can't get one. I got lucky though. I happened to be at a Target a few days ago getting something for Freddy, and I bought him a video game, and they had the Target exclusive. There's only one left. It's still in shrink wrap. I haven't even opened it up to see what's all in it. But they had the Target exclusive for Suicide Squad, and that looked cool. So I hadn't bought that. But that's the first of those I've bought in probably 2 years.
I'm upset with at least Disney's Target exclusives. I had a rant on my latest video, which I haven't posted on the channel yet, because I put it aside to do some Halloween stuff that I shot when Connor was here in town. But
cool.
But I have a Blu-ray update video where we just go over everything we bought in the last couple months, and it's a big old stack. And I got 3 Target exclusives, Disney ones. I got Raya and the Last Dragon, which is Disney, Luca, which is the Pixar, and then Black Widow, obviously. And I don't like how they're doing the new Target exclusives. They're much cheaper. I understand they have to put less money into them because physical media isn't what it used to be, but I really don't like the new setup. It's a bummer. So if you want to hear that rant, tune in. I'll get that video up.
Man, I didn't know that. Because I haven't, like I said, I haven't taken the Suicide Squad one out of their shrink wrap yet, so I don't even know what it looks like.
Well, that's not Disney, so that might be fine.
Oh, okay.
I'm just talking specifically about...
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you just meant Target.
No, yeah, they're the Target exclusives, but specifically the Disney ones have taken a big... They used to be these big box sets, and now they're just a little slipcover, and they're really easily torn and stuff.
How many more Superchats do we have left?
We have 4.
Okay, real quick. I know we're past time. I want to look at it real quick. Let's see what the quality of it is.
Go grab it. Let's do an unboxing.
Let's do it as well. All right, Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad, because that's how we do sequels and soft reboots now. We just put a "the" in there. Unboxing. Here we go. DJ is getting up to get something.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you.
Pretty sure he didn't buy this movie.
No, I was just gonna show you the difference. See how they're they're thinner.
I have that Captain Marvel one.
Yeah, this is how Disney used to do theirs. There were these big, nice digipacks with the characters. Open up, the book sits right in there. Now, all they are is just a slipcover with the standard DVD case, standard Blu-ray 4K, just a slipcover. But then the slipcover has this little fold out on the front, and the book sits in there, and it's heavy for just a normal slipcover, so it pulls and it's already starting to come unglued. You can see.
Oh no, I'm not gonna buy those.
I really don't like the new. That's how they've been since Onward and Luca and Ryan the Last Dragon.
That's awful, because that's not even any.
Don't like those.
That's not different enough from just boxes with slipcovers.
Yeah.
There's almost nothing special about that.
The only difference is it comes with the booklet.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
Oh, okay. Well, at least they still have those, because that's kind of the main reason to buy these.
Yeah. So it does fold out and it has the booklet, but yeah, it's unfortunate. It's not really holding up as well as I really, really liked. They did these all the way from Homecoming up through Endgame, and I don't think they did one for Far From Home, but all the way up through Endgame that had all of those, and they're really cool.
I didn't know you bought these. I didn't know really anybody else that got the Target ones.
Yeah, I'm not a Steelbook fan, so I don't really go to Best Buy. I usually get the Target because I like slips and digipacks.
And I really like Steelbooks, but I usually buy movies at Target for whatever reason, and they don't usually have them. I don't know. I guess it is Best Buy that I bought Steelbooks from. It's just when I happen to be in there. It's like, ooh, a Steelbook, and then I'll buy them. But I don't think to actually go there to get those. I'm terrible at this.
I'll do a show on my channel. I'll do like an introductory to collecting physical media.
Which is hilarious, because I've been doing this for years, but I just don't even know what I'm doing. Well, I think it's still kind of a novelty to get special releases of things. For the longest time, I didn't think to do that, because it was just cheaper. I just wanted them represented. And that's how I've always bought things. It's just, well, I have it. It's representative. Anyway, so here's... I'm trying to figure out how exactly you're supposed to open this. Without, like, ruining it. Because, like, it's in this cardboard cover thing that is just totally... sealed. Like, I'm gonna bend it. Yeah, I guess you just open it at the top. Weird. But you also could at the bottom. I had a choice to make.
Ah, you chose wisely.
That was weird. I guess. I already dented it. Like...
Oh, that's very similar. It's just the book with the standard jewel case.
Yeah, that's all it is. So this thing... So the reason it seals is so that you can get... There's my key again.
The key!
The reason... It closes at the top is just to keep these together. So, I mean, I guess at least there's that it closes, if you care about that. And then this is in a shrink wrap. And then it's just the regular Blu-ray. So, yeah. But it still has a DVD. Warner's is the only company that I'm seeing right now that's still sometimes including a DVD with their Blu-rays, and I hate it. And I know I'm the only person on the planet that cares about that, but I need them for work. And when we don't have DVDs anymore, it's going to make my job take longer.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even think of that because I never take out the DVDs. But, yeah, it's just 4K, Ultra HD, Blu-ray, and digital.
See, I bought Black Widow just on DVD because it didn't have hardly any special features. And special features on Marvel movies suck now anyway. And I didn't like that movie that much. And when I watch it again, it's going to be for work, so I bought it for work. But the nice thing is, when I'm buying these things mostly for work, I can write them off. So there's that.
John Henry, DJ, did you show Cap your sweet Batman Begins Blu-ray since he likes that movie so much? It's the coolest superhero Blu-ray I've seen. I showed that off in a different video. I haven't showed him that. I don't know if he knows about that. I'll have to show it.
I don't know if I do either. Do you have the same one I have?
I'll grab it for you real quick. It's a French one, so probably not.
Oh, interesting.
It's the Premium Collection, which is a French collection that they put out.
Oh, crazy.
It's this beautiful white digibook with a clear slip, translucent slip. It's got those two on the back. It's a nice book.
That's pretty. See, for Batman stuff in particular, I've considered starting to collect more versions of the same movie. Like, I've thought about just collecting every version of 89 that's ever come out.
Oh, you need to get the Diamond Luxe edition of 89. It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah? I just think that would be a really cool collection to have. I'll go back and get the Laserdisc. And I actually have the beta tape for 89.
Oh, wow.
And having that, it makes me want to buy everything.
Yeah, the Diamond Luxe editions were this very limited setup that they put out for a little bit. They're not digibooks. They're not steelbooks. They are just like these metal. They actually released one of Amazing 2, of all things. If I can find that. I won't make you wait while I find it, but it's like a metal pack, and it doesn't have the ugly spine that steelbooks have. It just goes right together, and they're very thin and sleek and shiny looking. But yeah, check that out if you can get your hands on that.
Wow, yeah, I would like to. So my Dark Knight collection, you've probably seen this before.
Right. It's like really hard. It's almost metal. It's kind of like a steel book, but they just have a normal book spine, and it's just got a magnet in there.
Cool.
And they just snap right together.
I don't know what I have for that movie, but it's not that one.
Oh
wait, no, I do know what I have for that movie.
You can't really see.
I have that collection that they put out. I think it was also Target. That was like Amazing 1 and 2, and it's really pretty. But that is really cool.
Yeah, it's nice. This is not a Diamond Lux edition, technically. It's not under the same banner, but it's the same type of packaging. They have a Batman 89 Diamond Lux, which is really cool.
Have you seen this thing?
I have.
Yeah,
cool.
That's what I've got. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I hate things like this, though, because trying to get the movies out sucks.
Yeah, if I liked the second two movies in that trilogy, I would get that, but I only liked the first one.
Well, that's totally fair. Obviously, I at least like Dark Knight, so, you know.
Of course. Everyone does. I'm the only one on the planet. But yeah, I've got the Willy Wonka big one like that, and a few others up there. I love those big things, but they take up too much room on the shelf.
Real quick.
Anyway,
we've now done a whole segment on physical collecting. We should take this out and make it its own video.
If you like this stuff, check out the Welder channel.
Yeah, check out the Welder channel.
That's all I talk about. Talk about it in depth over there.
DJ has a very specific, limited focus on his channel of well, I say that. You'll do other things, but it's mostly that.
Yeah, we talk about old movies and a lot of movie stuff, but there's a good bit of collecting on there. Physical media, I like it.
Let's rapid fire our last few super chats and then call it a night, shall we?
All right.
Good thing we didn't try to do anything else on this show tonight.
No, they were ready for us tonight. This is a great show. Chewbacca's lover, not to get political, but both sides.
I love it when questions start with that sentence.
Well, this is what we were talking about earlier, or what I said earlier. You said, not to get political, but both sides think it's getting worse for different reasons. Neither one is optimistic, really happy if you listen to them. LOL. Yeah, I wasn't talking about people specifically. I was just talking about like the base fundamentals of the words conservative or progressive. One means you're trying to get better, one's means you're trying to stay. Yeah. I don't know what people are talking about. If you're talking about current people talking about politics, I don't even know. I tune it out. But yeah, sorry if I misrepresented what I was saying there. David22, DJ, yes to Sony welderverse or no to Sony welderverse? I mean, I have no integrity, so if they come knocking at the door with a welderverse for me, I'll sign my whole life and family away. No, I don't.
He's not going to go see those movies, but he'll make them.
No, I don't even know what that would be. I mean, we don't even know if there's one welder in one universe. Are there many?
But it doesn't sound any stupider than giving Venom his own universe outside of Spider-Man. It really doesn't. Like, sure, welderverse.
Sure, let's do it.
It's a slightly off-kilter universe from... I mean, it's one universe removed from the Breaking Bad universe, where it's just the welder that was in El Camino, but Walter White never existed in that universe. Like, it's just...
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in, is all the different paths to get that they became the welder, all of their different origin stories. Like, one of them is just that guy from Minnesota or wherever he's from that railroad that ran over a city.
Yes, that guy is also the welder. There are a number, and then there's you. And like, your welder is just... Yeah,
there's just a YouTuber who's just...
Yeah, your welder... He's not even a supervillain. He just showed up to a set and they gave him a welding mask and he's on the welder. And then if you had like a welder verse movie, he'd get sucked in with all these supervillains, and then they would expect that you wanted to hurt people for some reason. And you'd be like, look, I was just on the set of a Spider-Man movie.
Just play the welder in a movie. I'm not a welder. I just played one on TV. Wasn't there a guy...
And even then, hardly.
In the Spider-Verse episode in the 90s Spider-Man show, wasn't there a Spider-Man who was just an actor in a costume and wasn't actually Spider-Man?
Yeah.
See, there you go. It's exactly the same.
There's precedent. Exactly. I love that idea, by the way. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty
funny. Yeah, in fact, if memory serves, and I could be wrong, I think the actor in a Spider-Man costume was supposed to be from our universe. because I think that's the same universe that Peter goes to in the last minute where he meets Stan Lee. And so the idea is it's a guy, well, I say sort of our universe. We didn't have a Spider-Man movie yet, but it's like, it's a universe where Spider-Man was a fictional character created by Stan Lee.
Yes.
And Stan Lee is real and there, and then this guy has no superpowers because he just played him in a movie. I think it's the same universe.
Okay. If you got when you and Austin do that commentary on those 2 episodes, I need to join you for those because I want to watch those episodes with you.
Oh sure, absolutely. I mean, if we ever do those were in the 24-hour stream a couple years ago.
Oh, awesome! I wish I was there for those.
Or I guess
was there
last year.
Avengers segment.
Not saying I wouldn't still do it because that's not on the channel anymore. So I mean, there's reason to do it again, but
it's a bummer. John Ty, as a Sonic fan, have you been reading the IDW comics? And if you have thoughts, it's one of my favorite comics that I've read recently.
I think it's really cool that they. So the answer is some, not much. I think it's really cool that IDW, even though they rebooted, they still went to the same guy that was doing such quality work at Archie. The art in those books is lovely and really, kind of cartoon cinematic looking. And I've read the first arc or two and really liked what I read. And I collected it up through 25 or 30 for my kids. Who have read some but haven't read a lot of it, even though I've been buying it. But like I said, I haven't bought comics at all this year, so I've dropped off of it. But yeah, I have a bunch of it. I just haven't read much. But Freddie asked me to get him the anniversary comic they put out this year, the big thick kind of annual type book, and it's really cool looking. He's read that cover to cover 4 or 5 times. He loves it.
David 22. A Smallville themed restaurant? Yes, maybe.
So it's just so niche. Like, who would go? That would only make sense in a theme.
The teenagers in 2001 that loved the CW.
If you had a DC theme park, like, I don't know what that would be besides just recreating the Talon, which sounds lame to me. Or if you just
a coffee shop, yeah.
Yeah, or if you'd make it like. What I would do with it is I would make it look like the Kawachi Cave, and particularly...
Oh, like the Rainforest Cafe, but a cave.
Yes, but particularly the episode where they did a rave in it, so you'd have, like, flashing lights everywhere and really irritating techno music, and I would just make it like the Smallville Rave Cave.
The Rave Cave, what a great name.
Either that, or you could make it Club Zero from the first season. But again, so niche, nobody would even know what it was. But you could make it Club Zero. It's just scaffolding everywhere.
People would be like, is this a Mortal Kombat tie-in? What is this?
All they sell there is apple martinis. And again, 3 people are going to understand that reference, but you asked. I know that show too well. Even
hey,
I know the first 3 seasons of that show too well.
Yeah, they're jumping ahead. Cap's, he's still in his YouTube phase. His encore career is his Smallville restaurant. Don't spoil that yet.
Or I just make a bunch of because it's going to start with YouTube and then it's going to go to fan novels I can't sell. Because I've started doing that and I have a bunch of ideas for those and I want to do more of those. So that's going to be the next phase of my career. I put it in air quotes because I can't sell those. And then the third thing will be theme restaurants on 40-year-old properties that nobody cares about anymore. When I'm in my 50s.
That'll be when he wins the lottery and has the money to burn on restaurants that are going to fail.
Exactly.
Last of the night.
That'll actually be the name of the LLC. Restaurants that are gonna fail.
Yeah, that'll get the investors rolling right in.
I won't need them. I won the lottery.
That's true. All right, well, what should we end on? We should end on what Bob Hun wants us to end on. Bob the Hun, there is a generation of people who love Raimi Spider-Man as much as you love Batman 89.
Yeah.
It's as big of a deal for people of our generation.
That's true.
That is very true.
Yeah.
That is true. I'm in that generation.
To be fair,
I like those films.
To be fair, I'm in the middle. I'm also technically in that generation. I just don't feel that way about it as dramatically. I was a junior in high school when that came out, and I realize that a lot of you guys grew up with that as children. But a lot of the people today where 89 Batman is their Batman, it was when they were adults when it came out. Like my dad feels that way about it. Like, so I know people my age that also feel the same way you guys do about, or some of you guys about Raimi Spider-Man. Like it was a huge deal when that happened and when it made the kind of money it did, and it set the world on fire. It has a lot to do with where we are now, of course, with superhero movies, and I just don't think that it's held up quite as well as I assumed it would when they came out. And some of the things that we've tried to do since then, I have appreciated as a Spider-Man fan more. I guess the big difference with me is 89 Batman was really formative in how I viewed the character. And obviously animated series much more so, but like it shaped what that character is, like iconography wise and mood wise and stuff for me. And I guess I didn't have that as much with Spider-Man because I was already a fan of that character in other media and comics and stuff. So I mean, that's where you're right with that. But all I'm saying is there's plenty of people even my age for whom Raimi Spider-Man is their Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I was 10 when it came out. I'm in with you guys, and loved those movies like crazy when they came out. I watched them a ton, but for some reason, those ones didn't stick with me. I just grew out of them a little bit. I liked some Spider-Man movies that came out before, and I also watched Spider-Man the animated series before those, so I already had an idea of Spider-Man before those came out, even at 10. But yeah, I don't have any nostalgia for those movies, which is weird because they're very formative for me when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, that's interesting. But then some things, we've talked about this, I mean, you chalk up the taste and...
Yeah, it's got to be just taste.
Some things that
I remember going to the theaters to see those movies. That was a huge deal for me. Like, I loved those movies when I was a kid. Those were some of the first huge experiences. Those and Lord of the Rings.
I mean, when you say you don't have nostalgia for it, like, you probably have nostalgia for the experience, right? But just not to the point where it's, like, clouding your judgment of it.
I haven't gone back to them over, like, 15 years.
Is that right?
I don't have the desire to see them.
Interesting. Okay, wow. Because, I mean, I have things like that with, say, 87 Ninja Turtles, where, like, I still have massive nostalgia for that, and there's elements of it that I really appreciate exist, but it doesn't hold up great to go back and try to watch.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that Spider-Man's in that category, even.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying they're garbage films or anything. I'm just trying to speak from my personal experience. I don't know why it is. I didn't have, like, I don't know why it is. I grew up, one time I watched them and I didn't connect with the characters anymore, and it kind of hurt it for me. It really hurt it for me. I was just like, I've liked this character in other things more, so I'm just going to go back to those things.
I tell you what, I blame my wife for a lot of things, and this is also partly her fault, because the first Spider-Man movie, I didn't know Sarah yet. And I loved it wholesale and was not especially critical of it. I thought it was a little bit formulaic. It's funny, I've said this before, it felt like it was every superhero movie we'd had before, except we hadn't had very many. So I remember being in the theater going like, it feels like this is the structure of these, but there's not like a lot of examples yet. And then I was right. We kept making them, and that was the formula of them, right? But beyond that, I wasn't like character-wise, the irritating Mary Jane stuff, all that, like it didn't really affect me. I didn't have a problem with any of it. And I was really into Smallville right then, and it had a lot of the same problems that Smallville had. And then when you got into the second movie, a lot of that is because the same people made both of them, or at least wrote both of them. And then I met Sarah, and we were dating, and we were like a year into our relationship when Spider-Man 2 came out, and she had all of those issues with the characterization and the relationship stuff with Peter and Mary Jane that she had with the first few episodes of Smallville that I showed her and she wouldn't watch anymore. And I was like my mind was blown when I tried to show her Smallville and it didn't connect with her at all, and she didn't understand why I liked it, and she thought it was kind of a garbage show. And I was like, "What are you talking about? This is great." And I started looking at it a great deal more critically after she and I talked about it. I was like, "Holy crap, she's right about stuff. What am I doing with my life here?" And I think
she
that
probably has that too, with things that you've ruined for her too. So
she
it probably goes both
absolutely
ways.
does. I brought this up before, but all I'll say, just 3 words: the cutting edge.
The ice skating movie, I was gonna say, if you didn't bring that up, I was going to, because yeah, no, it's interesting, man, because I loved the crap out of those Raimi movies. Those are the ones I had the big DVD box sets, and I watched all the bonus features on all of those.
Oh,
and I had like and that's actually something my wife does have nostalgia for those movies. She's a huge Spider-Man fan, mostly because of those movies, because she didn't grow up with comics or animated shows, and we've never watched those together, which is probably sad because I probably enjoy them with her because she has good memories of them.
You should.
First conversation we ever spoke about was those movies and how I liked Andrew Garfield so much more. And she, in class, this is our first conversation we ever had, she agreed with me, went along with it, like, yeah. Found out later she had never seen the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. She was lying just to flirt with me, and it worked. So maybe lying is not always a bad thing, people. But yeah, she went and watched The Amazing Spider-Man after I talked it up so much, and she liked it too. So, and now we're married 7 years later.
Wow. Well, that's at least more altruistic. My wife just ruined things I love.
She despises Man of Steel, and I used to like that movie more than I did. She won't even watch it with me. I showed it to her. She hates it. So there's things. There's things with everyone.
Count and Crypto Freaks exists because of Sarah. Like, I would not have quite the love-hate relationship with that show if it weren't for my wife. So those of you guys that really like that show, it's you can thank my wife, and those of you guys that think I'm too hard on Smallville, you can also thank my wife. That's not the right word. Anyway, we've got to end the show. Guys, this was a lot of fun. It's kind of hard to leave now because this has been going so well, and there's so many interesting questions and things. And
oh yeah, we could do this all night, guys. You guys are fantastic tonight. Thanks so much for the great questions. Make my job easy.
We will see you again next week. We'll do the same thing for you Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central. I am gonna try to get a review of Eternals up for you by at least Monday, if not overnight Sunday. Originally, the plan was to finally go ahead and review Dune. I'm going to put that off one more week because I'm not going to have time to see them both this weekend. And like I said, the criticism and stuff is interesting with Eternals, and because of that, I'm afraid I'm going to find out a lot more than I want to know before I finally see it. So I want to see it this weekend while I have as few preconceptions still as I'm able to have. So Connor and I are going to talk about that for you Sunday into Monday, and then hopefully the week after I'll finally get just a few minutes out for you on my perspective on Dune. Don't expect anything super interesting or insightful with that, partly because we're trying to do shorter how we felt about some new stuff right now, just because that's all I've got time for. And also, I've already said I like that movie a lot. I'll be a little bit more specific in that video, but it's great. Everybody go see it. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Hope you had a good time with us. We certainly enjoyed it, and we will see you again next week. Tomorrow night, real quick plug, I'm doing a commentary on the Angry Video Game Nerd movie with Austin. That's what we're doing tomorrow night at 10 Central, and then I'll have a requested review out for you on Saturday, and that's the news. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again next time. I was Captain Logan, and this was the wonderfully insightful and great at reading questions dramatically, DJ Martinez.
Thank you. I'll be here next week, same time, same channel.
That's the new. I'll be here all week. I'll be here next week.
Yeah.
All right, later, folks.